1. Let's see. Make sure everything on my channel is going right. Check my stream quality. And it says I'm live. All right. Let's see. And we should be live now. I'm going to keep my
goddamn ad.
super chat open down here so I can see everybody's super chat. All right. Is everyone there? Can you guys hear us? Can you guys hear us?
Hello, hello, hello.
It says 0 watching on my box. It probably isn't updated yet.
50. It says 50 on mine.
Oh, does it? Okay, so good, good. Yes, all right, so let's take the cover off here. What's up, guys? Hello, 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 hello to the first 4-channel crossover of the 2018 season. Thank you guys so much for showing up. It's been a while since we had our last one. But now we're back and we have a lot to talk about. There is so much stuff going on most of the shows, not all of them. I'm joined today by the 3 other channels you guys are very familiar with. We have Paigey in the building.
Hello.
Yes, make sure they can hear you guys. We have Boba Talks here.
What's up?
And we have Ben, the DCTV show, in the house over here.
Oh, good sir.
There we go. So anyway, thank you guys so much for showing up. We're going to talk about the plan is we have the 4 shows in the Arrowverse, and we're going to go over all of those shows individually. And if you guys have any super chats for questions you want us to answer, you can ask. I've got the super chat box open, so if we don't answer it right away, I'm going to go back through and answer all of the super chats as they were sent out. We're also going to leave a little room to maybe talk about the Elseworlds stuff at the end, and some Titan stuff too, if we have time, and random questions. So hopefully you guys are here to have a good time today, because I think it might get a little testy in here. You know, we'll have to see. But yeah, so what have you guys been up to? Are you guys enjoying the shows this season? Like, is everybody having a good time with them, or are any of them like leaving you, wanting more?
Well, I'm guessing we'll probably jump into that when we jump into the individual shows. Maybe the discrepancies we might have. With
you want to save it for them and have people.
Well, probably maybe might be the better option, especially if you want to go in more detail. But overall, I think they're all doing a fairly solid job. I wouldn't say any of them are like bad. Even though I don't think that's necessarily too much of a compliment.
It's also good to see a lot of people who were hating on Titans now jumping on that train.
Oh, absolutely. I think Titans is definitely thank you, Victor. I think Titans has definitely swayed some people over. If you're not watching Titans, I still am I'm leaning towards the I don't think if you're just getting it for that one show, it's probably not worth it. I mean, it's a good show, but there's a lot of other content on it. You get perks with like the comic books, and I feel in some way that the streaming service for DC is going to set the standard for a lot of these other ones, like the Disney service and some of these other services where, you pay for just that specific content from that person or that company. And so we'll have to wait and see, how it goes in the long run. Because there is 4 other shows planned. I mean, we have Swamp Thing. We have, are they still doing the Lois Lane show?
No, I think that literally got 3 pointed into
the Metropolis.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah,
I think
they
can now.
Yeah, then the Stargirl series, which looks pretty good, and Young Justice Outsiders, I believe.
Yeah.
So, all right, Team Forward with the $5 super chat. I'm gonna answer this question, and you guys can answer if you want to before we get started, because we're gonna jump right into Supergirl after this. He says, "What's your favorite show in the Arrowverse this season?" For me, right now, it's easily Arrow. I'm enjoying Arrow more than any of the other shows. Anybody else wanna answer that?
Ditto.
I would agree with that.
Literally the same.
The Flash.
Okay.
I would say the Flash is not far behind for me.
Legends of Tomorrow, people.
Oh gosh, they get triggered for
Flash.
Legends.
Black Lightning's probably my favorite, actually.
Yeah.
Arrow's been really solid, and so's the Flash. But I have a bias to the Flash. So.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Somebody says Arrow's been okay. Wow. Has not been great. Oh, all right. Well, we'll get to that in a second. We'll start out with I'm not going to talk about that. So thank you so much for the super chat and starting the drama right off the top. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and jump into the first show. And this is Ben's bread and butter here, as we like to say. We're going to talk about Supergirl season 4, and we got some topics here. I'm going to go through the topics, then we'll leave the floor open for anybody that wants to, talk about anything specific. So what do we think of the state of Supergirl this season? Like, how do you guys feel the show is doing right now compared to like where it was this time last season? How do you feel about it?
You may as well take
Go
it, Ben.
first. I'll go first. Okay. Yeah, I didn't like the first 2 episodes of Supergirl this season. And that's weird for me.
Controversial.
After we got to the 3rd episode, from then on, I think they've been really solid. Felt like it's more like Supergirl, like the show I know. So I'm sort of right now I'm enjoying it, but it's not as good as Arrow or The Flash right now. But compared to last season, I was enjoying it a lot more last season. I thought it was better at the start of last season. But I thought the Agent Liberty episode was really, really good. I think that's one of the best episodes
I agree.
in DCTV this season. I think it's really solid. So yeah, I think last season started off better, although we've had some solid episodes, I think, in my opinion, from episode 3 onwards.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying now it feels more like it did last season than the first couple episodes?
It's starting to feel a bit more like that.
I'll have to say this. I out of the episodes we've had so far, I think probably the Agent Liberty episode for sure was one of my favorites. And I think the most recent episode, although it did have its issues, I think it's still, thinking about it now, I think it was more in the lines of what we were getting last year. And so I'm okay with that. I just feel like Supergirl has had such a shift compared to the Reign storyline was so good. And so I feel like I'm missing that this season. I like the Agent Liberty stuff, but let's be honest, he's a street level character right now. And Supergirl's biggest opposition isn't really Agent Liberty, it's the people and how they perceive her as a superhero, which is why I'm really curious with this Red daughter storyline, if that's going to be,
that's got me.
They're going to sway her over. Maybe they're going to use that as the platform to make Supergirl, to make the country love Supergirl again, or make the world love Supergirl again. So I want to get to that. I like the Agent Liberty stuff, but I feel like we need to get more of that Red daughter storyline, because I think that's going to be the more interesting one. But that moves us into the next segment, unless anybody's got anything to add to that. Paigey, Boba, anything?
I'm not watching it, so.
I was going to say, Boba would literally be the most useless person to come to.
Casey with the $2 super chat. What do you guys think of Melissa as an actor? I'll be honest, I didn't like her in the first season, and the second season, she sort of won me over towards the end, and then I think by the 3rd season I really did like her in the series. For some reason, it didn't gel with me, because I knew Melissa from Glee, and I just remember her on that show. And it's if you were to ask me, I think her name on the Glee was Riley, right, or something like that. Was that correct, Ben? What was her character's name on Glee?
Marley.
I knew it was an E at the end, like a Y or whatever. But I remember from that show, and so when she came over to play Supergirl, just like with Grant with The Flash, I even, to be honest, with the first season of The Flash, I was kind of on the fence about Grant as well. So, but I think Melissa does a good job as Kara, and Supergirl is now, but I could see criticism. What do you think, Ben, of Melissa as an actor in general?
I really love her, obviously. I watched her since Glee, and then Supergirl. I instantly just wow, I just loved her, and especially I think she's the best time I've seen her was definitely on Broadway. That's in her zone. I actually got to go and see it, and I couldn't recommend that enough. Obviously, she's not doing it anymore, but really solid. She's probably one of my favorite actresses. As a fan, but also I feel like she's a really great actress anyway. So
Paige's trolling you in the chat. Wow, I just instantly loved her. That's funny.
I just want to have the classic quotes from the stream, just chucking them in there just in case people miss them.
So Saint Legia, I think is how you pronounce it, with a $2 super chat there. Thoughts on Krypton? I love Krypton. I'm, since it's not part of the Arrowverse, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody in this chat because some people may not have seen it. But I'm very excited about season 2, and I think Krypton's cinematography and production value is really, really high. So yeah, I'm excited for Krypton. Anybody else watching Krypton right now? Or
I definitely agree with that. I think I reviewed like the first 5 episodes and I was enjoying it.
yeah, I love the ending. Like I thought the ending was really good. I think it's a really solid show, and like you said, I think the cinematography, like the visuals, is the standout. Like it's just like rather incredible for a TV show.
But does this mean that Metropolis can actually be a thing since Krypton's a thing?
I don't know about that.
That is the question.
I'm not like that. Like honestly, I'm not that interested in Lois Lane's backstory. So I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of like by herself, like I feel like that's like I don't know. It just seems like a pointless story to me.
I just can't imagine it being a whole TV show. That's the problem.
If you're talking about the Smallville tweet about like Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling sitting at the table with Stephen Amell or whatever, they're probably getting connected to the Knocking Point company.
No, they literally are going to get to the. I think anyone twisting that out of proportion.
But I've seen like 3 people ask already in the chat, and it's like Also, somebody was asking about Tyler Hoechlin's portrayal of Superman. I'm sorry. Thank you for you guys. You left a really nice comment about me. I really appreciate that. But the Tyler Hoechlin as Superman, I personally love him as Superman. I can't wait to see him again this season. I wish he was more of a part of the show, but I understand they don't want to do that. Like they don't want to have him on Supergirl all the time because the show is Supergirl, and to have Superman on Supergirl all the time would be it would be kind of stupid, I think. But I do love him as Superman. I'll be honest, the first couple of images we got of him, I was like, I don't know. But then as soon as he was on, like instantly when I saw him as Clark Kent, I was sold for Tyler Hoechlin. All right, so
what do you think about the suit though?
What? Oh, his suit? I don't like the cape. I've never been a fan of the way the cape attaches.
Yeah.
I love the emblem.
I think the suit's good.
Yeah, if you take the cape and redo the cape, I think the rest of the suit is fine.
Or kind of tuck it in.
Yeah, like make it like Supergirl's, where it comes in right into the neckline. I think would be really good.
Yeah.
I think the reason why they did it that way, though, is so they could easily remove it for certain scenes and just CGI it in. That's probably why they did that. But because the parts right here that come over the shoulders, I think those are always attached, but the cape can come off. So if they're doing like any wire work with him, it's easy to CGI the cape from there, like with that piece already on it. So
yeah,
I think that's why. But so all right, so moving along with Supergirl, let's do the last little bit we have here, and then we'll do any last minute questions with you guys. Some people are saying the show is too political right now, and I've talked about it in many of my videos, and it's been talked about in a lot of the blogs. If you go in and you read the reviews of this season and things like that, they say the show is way too political. Does anybody have any opinions about that? Because I've said my opinion about it many times, and I will talk about it here in a second. But do you guys feel like Supergirl, out of all 4 of the shows, is a bit too literal when it comes to their political storylines, or are you okay with it? I know Bubba's not watching Supergirl, but what about you, Paige or Ben?
Yeah, it's just like I think like it's not all the time it's political. I think, however, when they do want to do something that has like sort of like a political statement or anything about that, they just do go sometimes a bit too heavy-handed with it. Mm-hmm. It sort of reminds me when Arrow did the gun episode,
which was so random at the end of the season.
It was just so random. It was just so on the nose. It was just like they made the episode just so they could do a gun episode. It didn't like flow with what they wanted to try and do. It's just like, oh no, we need to make this like gun control episode, so let's do it. Mm-hmm. And then obviously there was the big uproar, the fact that they were going to do a Black Lives Matter episode, and they didn't do it. Thank God, last season.
That would have been awkward.
Yeah, because I think I saw a tweet. It was like, there's one black person on the entire Arrow's writers' room, which has must have 15 to 20 people in it. So that wouldn't have been written well, I don't think. And we all know that Curtis would have been the center of it or something like that.
Right.
So, but I think at least they had the right mind to avoid that. I wouldn't say political. I wouldn't say Supergirl is too over the top political. I just, as I said, when they do political stuff, maybe it's just a bit too on the nose, and they really do drive it home. Where maybe it should just fit the storyline a bit better and make it a bit more like subtle, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the reason why I complain about it so much, because I do talk about it almost every review I do, except for like the last maybe 2 videos, is because I actually live in the country where all of it's based on. Like, I see it all the time. It's like in my face every time I log into Facebook, every time I get on Twitter, there's somebody talking about it, tweeting about it. You know, it's so when I tune into Supergirl, it's like I don't want to see a story that is exactly what's actually going on in my day-to-day life, because part of my interest in these shows is the escapism aspect of it. And I'm not saying that they can't be political, but I like when they do what they've been doing recently, where they take the stories from real life and they actually change it up a little bit, you know, and they make it more in line with what Supergirl is, opposed to just lifting it directly from, you know, from whatever's in the news at the moment. So I really like when they do that. But for me, the earlier episodes, especially the first 2 episodes, and even the third one, to be honest, but I think the third one was just like the story about Agent Liberty was so good, I think I overlooked it. But the first 2 episodes really were heavily political. So for me, it becomes like a big deal because, again, I just see it all the time. What about you, Ben? What do you think?
I actually like really agree with Paigey. Like, the thing is, right? You agree, or at least I do. I agree with most of the stuff they're saying, but it's just like, especially my example is episode 1 and 2. It just felt really, really poorly written and forced. Like, I don't have a problem if they're going to put it in the show, but at least write it well. And I think sort of past those few episodes, I feel like it's more sort of in the stories, and they're integrating a bit better. I still think they can do a better job. It's not over political, but I think they just need to focus on how they can integrate it with the story a bit more. Like, I would show, for example, like season 2 was pretty political. Like, a lot of people had a problem with that, but then season 3, they there was elements of political sort of like comments, but it was more in the story. I felt like it didn't stick out like a sore thumb like episode 1 this season, essentially.
So you're in the like Paigey's camp in the way you feel about it. And okay, makes sense. And so we had a few questions about Gotham in the chat. So I'm excited for the final season of Gotham. Don't mean to get too far off track here, but I know Boba's got a huge group of fans that love that show. I'm excited about the final season of Gotham, and I'm just waiting to see how far they're going to go with it. Like, it seems like they're going to put a lot of fan service into Gotham this last season.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting. Look, Ben's all these tweets, a quote of tweets and comments here. It's really funny. So I see people asking about Black Lightning. I'm going to clarify it one time, and I'm not going to answer any more questions about it in the chat. If Black Lightning were part of the Arrowverse, which is 99% of the focus of my channel, then I would prioritize making reviews of it. But just like Titans and many other shows, it's not part of the Arrowverse, and I watch it, I enjoy it, and if you want to talk about it in tweets or you want me to randomly speak about it, I will. But it's not a priority for my channel. Just like I'd love to make Titans a priority for my channel, but I just can't fit it in with what I'm doing right now. So that's the only reason. I think it's a great show. I love Black Lightning, but I'm not going to... I have to answer that question over and over and over again, and I feel like it's the same people asking. So I'm not going to talk about it anymore. All right, so Supergirl, any other comments about the show? I do feel like John is being mishandled this season. And I love Manchester Black. I was skeptical of him, but I really like what they're doing with this character. And Alex is my MVP this year. I love her storyline. Any other last minute things about Supergirl before we move on?
If I say something, I think Jean's been a bit mishandled. I haven't minded him as much in the last few episodes, but I do think he can do a lot more. Like, you know, I think they don't know what to do with him, essentially. And one thing, I like Nia, but I feel like she's not really doing anything. I don't know if that's just me. She's just plopped in every now and again for the sake of it. And I don't know. I know those sleeping scenes are to tease at her powers because she's Dreamer, right? But I feel like comedy right now, and it just kind of is a bit cringy. A few comments.
When people talk about John being a detective, that's not what I mean by mishandling him. I mean that the writing for him is not particularly good. I don't have a problem with him being a detective. I think that's fine. If they want to do something different with his story, I'm okay with that. But he literally used his telepathy to track down Fiona, and then in the very next, I think it was the next episode, but the episode after that, he says that he doesn't do that without consent because it's a violation of somebody's privacy. And I'm like, okay, I understand.
I saw your video.
Both reasons. Like, I get it. Like, I understand both sides of that. But if you give him a stance, then have him stick to that stance. You know what I mean? Don't change it and then just write a story around his beliefs. Like, if a character has a belief, when we have these stories, the only thing we know about these characters is what the writers tell us. We could sit here all day and come up with fanfics about what we think of this character, what we think of that character. If you're going to make a character a pacifist and you're going to give them a stance on something, then you have to show a reason why they changed their mind. You can't just go, hey, I'm a pacifist. I wouldn't do this because I don't believe in it. And then 2 episodes later, they do it with no explanation at all. You can't do that because that's all we know about the characters is what you tell us. So that's my issue with John. Like, I just feel like they've been doing it with James too. So it's something that's a bit of a problem, but I like the direction they're going with John, with the whole detective and helping out aliens and stuff like that. But they've never been very good at prioritizing his character's powers or any of his motivations for anything. The fact that he's sitting in basically an AA meeting with aliens who want to be their real selves and turn off the projector, but then he walks around looking like somebody else all the time. I mean, just stuff like that. That doesn't make any sense to me. But, we'll have to see. Anything else, guys, for Supergirl?
Nah, let's just move on.
All right, so we'll talk about, we'll do Arrow next. All right, we're going to talk about Arrow. So let me go into our questions here. Anybody, I'm letting you guys know that once this goes live, I will go through and put timestamps for all of the shows we're talking about. So everybody, so everybody can click in or whatever. So we've got a couple things we want to talk about here. And the first thing we're going to talk about from Arrow Season 7 is the fake Green Arrow mystery. So it's a mystery for so many people, but I feel like the 4 of us already kind of know, who it's going to be. And we're getting really close to that reveal of the character, I think. What, maybe 2 episodes? I think it's Unmasked is that's not this week, is it? I haven't looked at the previews for this.
I think
next week.
I think I know why a lot of casual viewers are getting confused though, because they genuinely do use a male stunt double. And then that one time when Renee was talking to her,
it was female.
Yeah, it was blatantly hers. But when he was versus Diaz in the latest episode, right at the end, I'm pretty sure that wasn't the same person, shall we say?
Right.
Ooh.
So a lot of people keep going back and forth in the comments, like, no, that is Roy. See, so I know it's Theo or something.
Yeah, people have been
like, hey, spoilers in the chat. Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah, I'm already inferring at least the sex of the fake Green Arrow. But that's a lot of thing. That's the thing. People don't understand that a male stunt double is so much cheaper than a female stunt double.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it'd be a stupid waste of money if you have this fully clothed person and just chucking a female in there and paying a ridiculous more, well, not a ridiculous amount more, but more money when it's not really necessary. They can just use an old stunt double that's in Canada. They've always used and has done similar stunt sequences. Yeah, it's just easier. They don't have to teach much. So that's the whole point of it as to why the stunt double would look male.
I mean, do we want to toss out who we believe it is? I mean, there's a lot of people in the chat already saying it. I mean, and we're having to go through and remove it for spoiler reasons. But I feel like at this point, I mean, if we tell people, hey, this is who we think it is, I mean, yeah, I mean,
I think that those that would know mustn't watch Arrow videos because every video that I do on Arrow, there's about 27 people in the comments with this person. That's just in case
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the name.
Well,
but just,
I would tell you right
they
now
say who it is.
that it is definitely not Artemis. I've heard people saying they think it's Artemis. It's definitely not Artemis. So
If it was Artemis,
Thea returning.
if it was Artemis, I think everyone would just turn off.
some people say the stunt double doesn't look male to me. I'm telling you guys, there are scenes where the stunt double is a male. Like
In that fight last week, the hood came off and it was a male's hair.
Right.
You could see his hair.
So, I mean, whether it's a female actor playing this character, which is like 99.9% probably what the situation is, they have used male stunt double. But it's not the first time that's happened. I mean, this isn't like some huge thing where it's like, oh, they're using a male stunt double, so it has to be a male character. I've said this from the beginning when I even brought this up. Other shows have used male stunt doubles for female characters in the past. It's just the fact that it's so obvious to me in scenes in Arrow, which is something that I found a bit weird, because they haven't done a good job of covering. The suit is so form fitting. Like if you're wearing like a loose baggy suit, it makes it really easy to do that. But the Arrow suit is so form fitting to me that it just seems really obvious. Yeah, look, Canada Graphs goes outside of Steven, they don't particularly commit a specific stunt double for someone. So right, so they may only have a guy who is the size of the actress who, like they'll look at height and weight and go, okay, you're close enough, we're going to use you as a stunt person in scenes. And Arrow does such a good job with their stunt choreography that they want to show these stunts happening, and it just happens to be a guy. So it is what it is there. Hey, Amethyst, how are you doing? So, I guess we'll throw it out there. The character, and this is general spoilers if anybody's watching this on playback and whatnot, because it was released early before the season, and Ben's fingers are working furiously to stop it from coming up in the chat, but I think it's probably too late at this point. The character that it's probably going to be is the character of Emiko Queen. I think it's how they pronounce it. Emiko or Emiko Queen. And... so, yeah, I see several people are still throwing it out there. They changed the title of the episode, but it was too late. Like, if we wouldn't have seen that title, we probably would be having a different conversation about this.
The title was stupid.
You could theorize, because I remember if we're going to reveal the name, you may have done that. The actress, they've got, like, the actress is already on the set as well that's playing Emiko.
Mm-hmm.
So she was found out to be there because she followed, like, Stephen Amell and different people in Arrow, and then they followed her, and then she was training in the same gym that all the Arrow people train in.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like we didn't know who she was playing, obviously. So
Right.
you could there'll be like a big theory session that she could be playing Emiko Queen, but the fact that they actually released the name in an episode title, I think. I wonder if they'll ever reveal any information to spoiler TV ever again. But,
was that like a press mistake there?
They weren't meant to. I think they were given early things, but they just weren't meant to release that stuff.
The problem is,
seriously,
those are like working titles. Working titles are not supposed to be revealed to the public. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But they did change the title. They changed it to something. I can't remember what it is now. It's just a random title now. Episode 10, but that it was confirmed that like Warner Brothers was like scampering to get that taken down by spoiler TV, but you know, once something's on the internet,
all it takes is 1 second for something to go on the internet, and it's too late.
Yeah, all it needs is someone to get like an email notification from spoiler TV that they posted something new, and it'd be in their email forever. That title, so
isn't it stupid that they did that? I know it's a working. Well, no, it's a real title if they send it.
Just title your stuff like that.
Well,
end of.
No, I mean the thing is that whether they like, I don't know. I'm just going to assume it's a working title. Like I think that's what it was. But even if it wasn't, once it's out there, if you change it, that doesn't fix the problem. You know what I mean? So, look,
it just makes it look more guilty.
Ash goes, well, it is called spoiler TV, so well, I guess so. But I mean, like. Like, say, for example,
what? I think
it's also stupid. I'll let you say this in a second, Ben, but let me throw this out there. I think it's very stupid if you have something huge like that you would put that as your working title. I'm just saying. That's just, to me, that's stupid. But go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, you know, it just kind of makes me like, oh, it's so annoying because probably the episode title wasn't going to be revealed, right? She's probably going to get revealed the episode before, most likely, if they're going to put that in the title, right? So
Yeah. Right at the end.
it's obviously a mess up, but it's just kind of annoying. Like, I didn't want to know that, like, you know?
True.
And I mean, another thing is that can you imagine how like even as someone like we all do our like preview videos and behind the scene photo videos and stuff like that, but certain things I like as a viewer being surprised and theorizing about, and once that got released, it was like, oh great, like now I mean, even if I don't ever mention it in a video, I already know. And that makes it less exciting to me because I don't want to do a video and go, oh, hey, I know exactly who this is and this is my theory when we saw that it was the working title, So I think that's a bit strange. But I mean, so if it doesn't, I mean, if it's most likely going to be that character, then I'm assuming that it's going to tie into Oliver's father again, with Robert Queen and something that he did early on. I kind of don't like it being that character. They have to really like win me over with that story because it seems like it's going to be really hard to make that work without it feeling like a soap opera. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And also like the origin behind it in the comics, who that other person was, just wouldn't make sense for the show either.
Right. What do you think? What do you think, Paigey, as well? Like about the about it? Do you think it's too soap opera or like with this whole thing?
Yeah, but Arrow is a soap opera. Like, let's be completely honest. Arrow is a soap opera with action, like it actually is. Like all the shows are. Flash is a soap opera. Probably Legends is probably the show that's the furthest away from a soap opera in regards to an Arrowverse show. Like Legends is
It's not a
just
superhero show, guys.
It's just I'm just saying, and just regards to an Arrowverse show, it's just a straight up comedy.
Yeah.
So, but all the other shows are soap opera. Like Flash and Arrow really do head into that territory of soap opera a lot of the time. So, it wouldn't be that big of a thing.
But I feel like this is a cliche we don't need. Like how the villain walks into the room and you hear that dun dun dun, and then it's like the villain walks in. It's a bit too on the nose for me, I think.
Like, but specifically with the Emiko Queen thing, like I'm just intrigued to see who they make the mother, because it can't be Shadow like it is in the comics. Yeah. So, is it just going to be some other random Asian woman, or is it just going to be like how they're going to connect it all?
Spoilers.
Just be warned, guys. There's probably going to be spoilers in this 4-channel crossover, just so you guys know.
So like, but I guess like in regards to her backstory, the only thing I can think of is that we know Malcolm Merlin's coming back this season. So is he involved with her? Is like when he was when he was Raish, did he train her? Just for that short period.
Do you think Malcolm Merlin's going to be in flashbacks this season? I think so.
Well, I think if he appears, you have to think it's flashbacks because I don't think they would do that whole thing on the island and have that quote unquote big moment with him and Theo, and then just he's alive. They might. I think he's actually dead. Even though we didn't see the body, in my opinion, I think he's just dead.
Also, so people that are saying that this fake Green Arrow is Oliver Queen's daughter, that is definitely not the case. Like, there's no way. I mean, think about William and the logistics of having a daughter that's older than William. I mean, I don't believe that. That's just, unless there's some magical element to it, which I hope that's not the case. No more magic.
Harry helps them.
Yeah, because when did? Yeah, it wouldn't make sense because Oliver had to have the kid when he was like 13.
Right.
Well, I've heard some people say like Oliver and Felicity's future like daughter coming back in.
Well, I think that's
It's probably something like that.
Well, that's probably that Catherine McNamara that was cast. I can't. She's got blonde hair. She's got blonde hair in the future scenes. I know that.
We're gonna move into that now. Let's talk about the future scenes. Let's talk. That's one of the topics we're going to talk about. We'll continue to like bounce around, but. So the future scenes are somewhat problematic. I believe they're problematic, and I've actually got a video I'm working on with more detail, but we'll talk about it here. Yeah. So a lot of people are wondering where Oliver is in the future scenes and what happened with, this character and what happened with that character. The more stuff they reveal in the future scenes, the worse the regular show is going to be, in my opinion. Like, some stuff they can reveal, but I think showing someone alive is a problem in the future. Like right now, we know that from here on out, all we're going to be waiting for is when Dinah's going to lose her powers. That's all we're going to be waiting for. Like, when is that going to happen? Who's going to do that? Because we know she's not going to get killed off. So every character they reveal that is still alive in the future, who is part of our current team, is problematic in my opinion.
I 100% agree.
Thoughts? Anybody else?
I did.
Go ahead, Boba.
I mean, I did a video on this not so long ago because I saw a lot of people talking about it, and I didn't actually think of it beforehand, but then it did dawn upon me. Like, I find it both intriguing because it is really interesting seeing what the heck is going on, because they definitely have set up quite a few mysteries like the Mark of Four and all that stuff. But when you do think about how it does make, sure, there are some consequences for Dinah, like that little scar on her throat and stuff like that, but it is still... You've just revealed Roy is still alive in the future. Like, you know, Dinah, blah, 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 blah. We know it just does make a lot of present day. I'm not going to go as far as saying completely inconsequential because I'm still going to enjoy the present day stuff. But there are some people out there who really feel like the stakes are like, it's like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, especially when we're only going to find out even more.
Well, the other thing is people are saying, okay, so I want to address two things. Number one, the future can't change. The future that's happening on Arrow right now is Arrow's future. Period. The showrunners have come out and said that this is the future, right? So
it'd be pointless otherwise.
Right. Secondly, the reason why Flash Forwards worked on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's a different situation is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has had time travel involved and Arrow doesn't. So it's not the same thing. This is a static future. This future is not going to change. Unless the writers decide like 2 seasons from now they want to do that, the future we're seeing right now is the future that our characters are going to experience. Otherwise... Because it's going to tie back into what's going on right now. And I have a feeling it's going to tie into what's going on with what Felicity's doing right now. So to act like it's going to change, if they decide to do that later on, that's going to be highly problematic. It's going to be even worse than like the Flashpoint stuff. So...
I thought I read that they said it's a version of the future. I swear I read an interview.
I just feel like it'd be so silly for them to do all of this flash forward for it to just be like, oh, okay, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Don't worry. And everything in present day.
Do you guys really think Felicity's dead in the future?
Oh, no.
I don't think she's dead. I
think
she faked her. I think her death has been faked 100%.
Yeah. She's probably faked her death because
she
faked her death because she's like, well, I'm probably gonna die if I don't do this, because she's turned away from the plan that she set up, which was to blow up Star City. Or hashtag spoiler alert, but sorry, not sorry. So that's the plan. So she's obviously set that up. But then obviously at the last minute she's been like, oh, well, I sort of want to back out from this. So she's gave that information, or set William on this journey to find out all this information, and then probably just got into hiding, probably faked her death by setting off a fake explosion. And then she's obviously contacted that Black Star, which is obviously most likely that Maya character that's coming in, who is possibly her daughter, maybe, just to give her relevant information that she can possibly pass on to William. And it wouldn't surprise me either. Maybe in the mid-season finale they're going to rush that, or later in the season it's like, oh, Felicity's alive, like in some big reveal, and she helps.
That's the thing that makes me worried about the future, though. It's like, well, if we do have a Felicity and Oliver daughter, it's just like, well, we know if Arrow does get another season or 2 or something like that, it's just all of this stuff is, well, we know it's going to happen.
I guess it matters how old they make her. Catherine McNamara is, I think, 22 or 21 or something, and we know in the shows like they can part, like Jesse, Violet Bean, I think, played a 16-year-old when she was like 21 or 22, so they could pass her off as a bit younger if they wanted to. And like CW shows do that all the time. So,
well, they're doing it with Lex because that's for sure.
Well, they're even doing that with like Nora. You know, how is he actually 33 or something?
She's older than both Grant and Candace. So
yeah, I think Grant's 30 something. Or I think he's exactly 30 or something. So
he's younger. Yeah.
Okay, sorry Ben, forgot. But I think she's like 32 or something, and she's playing a 25, 26, and people are confused and think she's a 16-year-old.
Right.
So
yeah.
And the thing is, they've already established that she's not, but she looks so young, people think that she is.
That's and also, I guess the way she acts is a bit
that's true.
immature.
Yeah. So, but I'm pretty sure, Paigey, and you're gonna have to like remind me of this because I think you did a video about it. The showrunners have not said this is a version of the future. They've confirmed that this is the future, right? I mean,
they said this is they insinuated that it's a fixed timeline because they said there's
Right.
not going to be any sort of sci-fi elements to this to these flash forwards.
Yeah.
They said something else, but essentially the thing is like this is our future because the thing with Arrow is that it can't be like Flash where time travel is associated with the storytelling, so it can't be variable. It can't be a variable future where things can change from what we're seeing in the present. That future is a fixed future. It's a fixed timeline, so nothing can change because they said there's not going to be any sci-fi elements.
Like, for example, like doing the flash forwards on Arrow is the one show. Like the other 3 shows, there's time. Like Supergirl could do time travel. They've done it with the Legion. Legends does it every week, and the Flash does it. Arrow's the one show where they don't normally do it. So
yeah. And I think they realized their mistake in like season 4 when they went a bit too far and introduced all the magical elements. Just went a bit too far with it. It just didn't suit the tone of the show.
Season 4.
So
It's a little bit.
Beth Schwartz did say as well that it's all about how the present day's characters' decisions are impacting them in the future, and you can see Felicity going dark now.
Well, yeah, I think that's the whole point of the storytelling. Like they were setting up Felicity being evil in the future, and then they show that in the exact same episode. Her basically the baby steps to that, like
Going
the first
dark.
steps. Yeah, so that's why Arrow thinks storytelling has just been so good this season because everything is connected. Even the stuff that's on the side, like the Curtis stuff, is still connected. You can tell they're going to come back to that and it's going to connect to the large picture of everything. It's not some like useless side story.
The thing is,
it's actually going to come back into it.
a lot of people were saying when I made a video on this whole future forward thing is that I got a lot of comments saying, "Oh, but the Arrow timeline can still change because Barry might change it." I'm like, that wouldn't happen, and they wouldn't cross that over. Like there wouldn't be another Flashpoint level change like Dig, because a lot of people were just using that as an excuse as to how Arrow's future isn't set in stone, which I don't think is going to happen through Barry.
Yeah. I think overall it's problematic, but I've been enjoying those scenes. I think they're intriguing. Do you guys like them, or is it too problematic that you don't enjoy them, or what?
The flash forward scenes.
Yeah.
I like the flash forward scenes. I know a lot of people said they would watch a show based on that flash forward with the characters in the future, and I think, to be completely honest, I mean, I think there would be a market for something like that. The problem is that you couldn't have a spin-off show of the Arrow in the future unless you disconnected it from everybody that we've previously had on the series. I don't think that would work. But it works in this show because technically we are currently in the flashbacks. Like we're watching the flashbacks in present day, and the flash forwards is like the show all the way through the first 5 seasons. You know what I mean? Because we're watching what would be considered the flashbacks of the series. My biggest issue, the only real issue I have with the flash forwards is the fact that now William and Zoe can no longer be dangled as a carrot for us. We're not going to have them being used as plot devices, or at least it doesn't make sense. We know Dinah's alive. Roy's being alive is inconsequential, really, I think, which is fine. But anyone else on the team that's revealed to be alive or dead really is the only problems I have with it. I think it's a good story, and I think it's interesting. I'm less annoyed by it and more excited about where it's going. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel about it personally.
Yeah, like I'm intrigued by it, but I still like. That's probably the best word to use. It's just that you're intrigued by it.
Mm-hmm.
But however, I wouldn't say I'm like captivated by every single time it shows up on screen. It's just something that I look forward to every episode because I'm like, okay, what reveals are they going to show?
Right.
Where's it going to go? However, most episodes, the majority of them, I think 5 out of the 6 episodes I've watched, the thing I've been looking forward to the most is the prison stuff. Obviously, that's the exact same stuff this week because obviously the prison stuff looks like it's going to be next level insane. But that's the thing that has my main attention this season. But definitely those flash forwards just do keep me intrigued and just like what reveals are going to have, and also just keeps you invested in the side stories for this season as well, because they hint at certain stuff, like the stuff with Dinah a couple of episodes ago where that same stuff was relevant to what was happening in the future. And then obviously Felicity in the week that just passed.
Well, and the flash forwards from this last week's episode wasn't like the best in terms of flash forwards, but you know what I mean? I still enjoyed it. So
it seemed like it was setting up a big mid-season finale of flash forwards. That's what it seemed like they were doing. And I'd be surprised if we got flash forwards this week.
So Alex Figs had a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Alex. And he says, how do you think they can fix Ricardo Diaz to be intimidating? He seems like only a threat to Felicity because even she can pull a beating on him. I like Kirk Avocito that plays Ricardo Diaz or whatever. And I think he has some intimidating moments. But I also think that a lot of things, like we talked about, and I thought about this after I made my review for this week's episode where he got captured by Argus and the fake Green Arrow. And I think a lot of his weakness is basically him setting things up. Like, I feel like he wanted to be captured. And we talked about that in the in our live chat this week, Paigey, where we thought that a lot of the stuff that happened was stuff that he set up. So I think the intimidation from him is less about the physical aspects and more about the moving characters around in a chessboard type character. What do you think? What do you guys think about Ricardo Diaz and being intimidating?
Yeah, like I think, and we even saw that like last season. Like he does, like I know it's had it with Prometheus, but he's just like a step ahead. He's not just like going through the motions and just doing everything randomly. He sort of does have some sort of plan, and it's just like the way in which also like the longbow hunters left him there last episode was just to indicate okay, maybe was that a part of the plan? Because they just I even mentioned that in my review. It was like they just left. Like they didn't even make an attempt to try and get his like unconscious body. They just sort of bailed. They looked at him and was like, oh, okay, let's leave. Let's set off some fireworks and bail. So, and then obviously like it just seems that what's happening this week on Arrow is what he wanted to do, and him getting captured was the step in that direction. Obviously, we should see like the connective tissue in regards to how he gets out of that situation and gets to the prison, but obviously that's what the episode will show us, I'm guessing. But yeah, I don't think it's just like things are just happening. I think he's setting them out that way. Whatever his end goal is, we'll have to wait and see, but I'm sure it's going to make sense. But we do know that he's here for at least the majority of the season because he signed on as a season regular, when last season he was just a guest star. People
are comparing him to Adrian Chase. There's no comparison.
No,
Adrian,
what do you think?
It was just so much better to me.
What do you guys think the life-changing decision that Oliver will make next episode will be then? So I know a lot of people were saying it's gonna be he's gonna kill Diaz, but I kept saying but he's a series regular now. So how's that gonna be the case?
Kirk Acevedo is still filming for Arrow right now, so
yeah, exactly. So I don't think it would be Oliver escaping either. So,
I don't know.
It's just I don't know if the synopsis is exaggerating what the episode is actually going to do, or is he actually going to make a life-changing decision? Because I can only think of that being killing Diaz, escaping and becoming a fugitive, which I don't think is going to happen either. I don't know what else that would be. Because keeping him alive, it's not really. I don't know.
It could be killing Stanley.
Oliver.
Yeah, you could kill Stanley.
Well, we talked about that in your stream the other day, Eric. Do you want to get demonetized again? Are we getting demonetized
Divorcing
again?
Felicity.
May as well. You got enough super chats. Let's get the big yellow button. Let's go. Are we going for it? Okay, big yellow button incoming. So Stanley in the comics is a serial child murderer. So
Oh god.
Yep. Here it goes.
So I would be shocked if the show doesn't do something. They might not call him serial child. They might not make him a serial child murderer.
It might have been just one, but still one is enough. You know.
This is slab side. It's maximum security. If you did like tax evasion, you're not getting put here. Even if you did a lot of it, you're not getting put here. You'd still be in like
Does he
security.
still have the same comic book name?
Stanley Dover.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Look up the old. There's two versions. It's the older version. And if they don't make him that, I'd be sort of surprised. Just because why would they take that comic book character and put him in the show and then make him sort of innocent and stuff like that?
And
he's totally a child murderer.
Also, we have to remember they said at the beginning of the season they were going to push the boundaries on what they can do at the 8 o'clock time slot. So I think that doesn't just mean in content. I mean, like, fighting and stuff. I think it actually also means in story. So I think that might be a reason why. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Amethyst, for the $10 super chat. Thank you so much.
And also, because Oliver's got a kid, the whole thing is like him protecting his kid and all that. He might just be a bit triggered by it and be like, oh, well, time for some neck snapping or something. One of the two.
Mhm.
And also, it would
Yeah.
surprise me if you found out that, the thing is, a lot of people have been going on like Stanley's secretly working for Diaz, but it literally just could be that, what's something that always happens in prison to people that hurt kids. They're usually targets
Yeah.
for people. They're always usually targets, whether it's some more creepy stuff or it's just like literally like just killing them. So,
Oh shit.
what was I going to say? So that could be literally why he's just tagging with Oliver, just in case someone finds out.
Oh, Sam, the
about
big
what he
spender with the big bright purple super chat there. Perfect timing.
color.
Perfect timing. Thank you so much, Sam, for the $50 super chat. You're always so supportive to all of us guys. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Let's read
If I can,
super chat.
Oliver.
can I quickly hop in? As
If you want to.
because I didn't get to. Yeah. So. I like him. I think he's better as like a plot device. Like he's good at the action scenes, but I don't feel like the connection like I did with like I don't know other villains in the past.
Mm-hmm.
The leftover from last season. I don't know if that's like going too far, but I just don't think of him as like he's been used to make some really awesome scenes in prison, but I don't. When I see him on screen, I'm not like, oh shit, like I am with like when Deathstroke came on screen, or like Prometheus. I don't. I think he's alright, but I'm not like
What are
fan.
we talking about?
Diaz.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Excuse me. I think the problem is that they wasted him a lot last season. I think last season they took too long to get to anything good with him, and he probably should have just been a villain for this season. Last season was, when it comes to the way they did their villains, it was a really clunky season. So I think that kind of screwed him up a little bit. Excuse me. So what about you, Boba? Any thoughts on Diaz before we move on?
Nothing more than what I said already. I personally like him. I think a lot of people I think they just don't think he's as badass as the martial artist, like insane guy in the comic books, with the way they're portraying it on the live action. Like, because apart from that copycat Green Arrow fight we had at the end of last episode, you don't really see him do an awful lot with, martial arts or anything. And I don't know. I personally really enjoy it, but I do understand how it's kind of different at the same time. And I'm looking forward to next episode for sure, with the slab side like breakout or like riot, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah, that would be interesting. All right, so let's jump over to Sam's super chat here, because it is something I'm sure people really want us to talk about. $50 super chat again. Thank you so much, Sam. Is Felicity too over the top this season? I like the dynamic between all the female characters. Just Felicity going off by herself to take on the world is off. Do you think Diaz has played his part long enough, and you do want to see longbow hunters more? Well, we've talked about the Diaz stuff, so thank you so much for the super chat. As far as the longbow hunters, if they come back this season, I just hope they're better. I want to know if they were being held back by Diaz specifically because he told them to. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
And done jack shit. Demonetized.
Maybe once again, like the whole thing was like when Anatoly talked about them last episode, and even like Diggle referenced them as like this like mythical group. I'm under the assumption that was like a past version of the Longbow Hunters, because these people that are in here aren't obviously that old. The CWH, if you want to call them, even that age limit. So my thought is that the Longbow Hunters is just like this group that obviously brings in new members when necessary.
Sort of like a Legends for villains, basically.
Yeah, just like basically like a rotation, almost like I wouldn't call it like a Legion of Doom or anything, but just like a rotation of this mercenary group. But I think one of the biggest things that the Longbow Hunters could do this year is Kodiak with his shield, because I hinted at it last episode, and I wonder if that's why Dinah gets her neck slit with his shield.
Oh yeah,
because he throws it. I don't know if that's foreshadowing or not. But she just avoids that. Like she does some stupid Matrix thing. Like it was a bit silly when I saw her, but anyway, she does like a Matrix sort of slow motion pulling back. And it just misses her neck. So maybe that's foreshadowing. I don't know.
maybe.
Who knows? But
Do you think they'll be in it much longer? Like, I think they will be in a few more episodes.
I have to think, as long as Diaz is there, I think the Longbow Hunters are there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why they'd randomly leave.
Sidekicks now. Like,
What
I
about,
don't.
when they were in Diaz's office with the drugs there that he was taking? I really want to know because they looked pretty frightened at what he was injecting into himself.
Yeah, I don't know if they specifically said what
Not
it
matter.
was. I can't remember if they specifically did, but it just seems like it's like a toned
Strength
down
juice.
version. It's like a toned down version of Mirakuru. Like it just doesn't mentally affect you.
Right.
They must come back to that surely though, because like
I'd
them
have to
saying
think so.
anything
I'd have
about
to
it.
think it's gonna have some like in the short term it's good for Diaz, but in the long term it probably isn't,
Yeah.
and it might do something to him.
Well,
But
people
I'd wait and
forget that
see.
he was the one supplying Diggle with that medication that was
Yeah.
helping him. So it's probably
Yeah.
just another version of that or something along those lines.
Yeah, like I'd say it'd be a version of that. However, that drug lab exploded, but who knows if the CDC was able to have like a small sample of it and then replicate it.
He
So
was
that might-
talking about
Yeah, we
his
didn't
pain
forget
in
about
that
the super
scene as
chat. We're
well,
going to get to that. We're going to get to the rest of
when
the
he
super
got
chat.
like
Go ahead,
blown off the
Bubba.
roof by Black Siren. I think
Yeah.
he was talking about like
Yeah.
when he was injecting.
All right, so let's move on to the Felicity talk because that seems to be a lot of people in the chat are pushing for that or whatever. So we've touched on this a little bit week to week on my weekly live streams about Emily and her acting. And I've said that I feel like Emily is good. How can I don't want to be like, I'm not trying to play both sides here. I feel like Emily is good when she's the more comedic, quirky, geeky character. I think Emily has a trouble, or I think she has a little bit of trouble portraying a scale of emotion. So when they tell her to be upset, she just gets really excited and over the top. And when they say be sad, she gets excited and over the top. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like her answer to all of that is the same emotion for all of those things.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about it?
I completely
Yeah.
agree. The thing is, she can shed a tear and stuff like that. She's a good actress, but like, I can't take her seriously when her voice starts wobbling. It's just the whole Oliver, just everything with that shake to it.
Mhm.
I just can't. It's the same. It's the same mode of, I don't know, acting she goes into every time. But the thing is, I like Felicity, I feel like, more than the next person because I didn't. The thing is, I don't like season 4 as much as the next guy, but I didn't think she was as bad as everyone said. And I've always enjoyed that quirky part to her. But yeah, I totally get with what you're saying, Eric, and probably what everyone else is about to say as well.
Yeah, like with Felicity, I think, and like we talked about this before, like when she was cast in Arrow back in season 1, she was basically doing improv, like improv comedy. That's a thing, and that replicated, that was shown with Felicity. Like she was that quirky, not, I wouldn't say comedic relief, but added some comedic relief when necessary, at least broke tension when needed. And she was like I think a necessary member. I know people say, I didn't like Felicity since the beginning, but if Felicity wasn't there, who would be that sort of like Cisco type character?
Curtis.
I think that's just well, let's not say Curtis type character because Curtis is literally just a bad copy of Felicity.
That's true.
But just to break the tension and just be the light in the darkness, if that makes sense, in like a conversation, and also can just break up any sort of tension between whatever's going on. So when they went into like I'd say season 4 specifically, but that back half of season 3, and it was just basically thrown upon her to do this dramatic acting out of the blue. When like Oliver went to be like, quote unquote died and, became Ra's al Ghul and stuff. It just felt unnatural. It just felt like she'd never done it before for the most part. It's improved, but I do agree with you in some ways where if there's like an emotional scene, she just drives it up to 11 in every single scene. There's no 7 or 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. There's no like medium. It's just a full-on 11. And sometimes it just feels out of place. Like that, the one I always reference, and I think it's the worst one. I think she's been very good this season, Felicity. Maybe unlike some other female characters on the shows, but she's been very good this season. But the one scene I always point to, I was like, that was a bad scene. It was the FBI scene at the beginning of episode 3 or 4.
I totally agree.
That's probably the worst. That's probably the worst scene I've seen from her in a while. Just because I was like, why is this scene so dramatic and emotional? It shouldn't be an 11. There should be just talking to the FBI and then maybe like one sentence where you get angry or like really raise your voice, and that's.
But
about it.
I mean, the thing is, like, Felicity paired with certain people works more than with others. Like, Felicity with Laurel is oddly a really good pairing. Like, I feel like the two of them are really good together. And I think it's because Katie Cassidy does have a much wider range of emotions. So she helps rein Emily in a little bit. And I think with Emily, when she's with Steven's got a stoic nature to him. So his range of emotion comes from the core. So a lot of the stuff that he does, his emotion is shown in actions or facial, like the way he looks at somebody or something like that. And Emily doesn't act that way. So when they're in scenes together, it's hard for her to connect with him with her style of acting because it's very different. But I think with characters like Laurel, like Felicity really works with Laurel because Laurel balances out that over the top nature of Felicity. Because if you think about it, the scene where they were digging through the boxes with Dinah and Laurel and Felicity was extremely over the top in that scene. But I think Laurel being there actually balanced it out a little bit, And so the scenes with the women are particularly good this season because I think the three of them work really, really well together. I think Dinah has really benefited from being in scenes with Laurel and Felicity because I just think it works.
Yeah.
So, at least that part works. But Felicity by herself, yes, it almost feels like when you were saying, Paigey, that she comes from like a more improv background and nature or whatever. I actually think the writers had intended for Laurel and Oliver to be a couple, but I guess they felt like the chemistry between Oliver and Felicity was better for some reason. And so that's why they made the mistake of getting rid of Laurel from Earth 1.
Yeah, from what I heard, I think it was basically I wouldn't say it was the chemistry, it was more just for the show to have Felicity be with Oliver. It just made more sense in regards to what they wanted to do with the show. Obviously, that debate could go on until the cows come home. That's a terrible analogy or whatever you call it to use. But anyway, that's from what I've got from like various interviews and stuff. That's why they paired Felicity with Oliver. It wasn't like a chemistry basis thing. It was more just to suit how they wanted to do certain things on the show. That's why they did it. But I think if I had to say, like, I think Felicity does get a hard rap on the show now. I think since season 4, like season 5 was a really good season for her. Season 6 was like this average. Like, I don't think she did anything amazing last season. I think it was pretty just normal season. I don't think you can complain about it. I don't think you can applaud it.
Right.
It was just there. But season 7, I think she's had a really, really good start. And obviously she might have a big storyline connected to whatever that future stuff's going on as well. So she could have a big season ahead of her. And especially when you tie in some Laurel stuff where she's basically trying to hold back Felicity from going down that storyline, it could be some interesting drama between them.
So I think that pretty much wraps up the full... Wait, no, you got something, man? Go ahead.
Yeah. So, like, what I think about Felicity is, like, I think she's scenes and things like that. I think she's good when she's, like you guys have been saying, when she's around Steven and around, especially this season with Katie Cassidy. And I just, like you keep on saying, like, I think she just overacts, and I think she's more of like a I don't know how to call it as an actor. Like you've been saying, it's like she acts with sort of like I don't know, like not from her core, like it's out on the outside of her, like from like an outer shell or something, and it just doesn't feel very like sincere. Unlike when, say, Oliver's getting angry or Oliver's crying or something like that, and yeah, I think she's a good actor, and I really do respect her. I really like her at some points, but then sometimes I'm like, come on, you can rein it in a bit, and yeah.
Mark Hayden, it is a lip balm, but thank you. It's not. It's a clear color, so it's not too bright for you guys. Okay, so we're gonna move on from Felicity and wrap up the Arrow because we talked about this for like 35 minutes now, and we're already running up on an hour, and we still have to do the Flash.
Oh,
so we got to like speed through stuff. So anyway, the other characters on the show, I think Diggle's story is just picking up. I think we're going to get more from him this season. I think the stuff with Curtis is going to be interesting once we really get into that. Stanley, we've already talked about him a little bit. We're not going to go into that too much. But right now, I think Arrow's in a good place. I feel like Arrow is the most consistent of all 4 shows. Even if it's not your favorite, it is at a consistent level every week. Is everybody kind of agree with that, or are we not agreed on that?
Every level's been good. Every episode's been good.
Momentum is
Yeah.
full swing.
Okay, so
A good flow.
so any final thoughts on Arrow? Any other comments or?
I'm fine. I'm done and dusted.
Yeah, I think I'm all good. I think we covered everything.
Okay, let's do. Oh, my Legends thing disappeared. That's not good.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. I got it covered. I got it covered. I got backups
You're hating
here.
on the show. It's not a superhero show.
That's gonna be funny. So we're gonna move on to Legends of Tomorrow. So if you guys have any questions for Legends, you can go ahead and drop some in the chat. So while I'm getting the folders ready here, what is everybody? Oh wait, Amethyst has a question. Does anybody want to take that really quick while I add this?
Sia Shamuka is the actress. If anyone wants to, I'll link the Instagram in the chat. I'll give it an old spam. Can I do that as a mod? I think I can just spam.
I think you can.
There's the Instagram for the girl that's playing Emiko Queen.
Thank you for the super chat, Amethyst. Was that what the question was? I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
I think it was.
All right, I'll go back and look and see if there's anything else. All right. Yeah, for some reason my Legends slideshows vanished.
Is it 100% necessary?
No, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. Amethyst said, who's Imitation Green Arrow as Emiko Queen? Who's playing her? What about Damien Dark as the dad? I don't think Damien Dark is going to be a part of Arrow at all anymore. I think they're pretty much... I think that ship has sailed. I mean, it could happen, but I'd be really surprised if it did. But the links there for Paige were about Emiko Queen. So if you're interested in that, you can go check that out. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Amethyst. I would love to see Damien Dark, but only if he comes back and does Return of the Mac, because that was one of the best scenes ever in the history of television. All right, so we're going to talk about Legends of Tomorrow. I know, Ben, are you watching? Are you caught up on Legends, or?
Yeah, I caught up today.
Okay, I know Boba's a little bit behind, but there really isn't a lot of spoilers. We're not going to spend a lot of time on Legends, unfortunately. But if you guys have questions, we will definitely answer those. On a scale of 1 to Bebo, how much do you hate Legends this season? I don't hate Legends. Like, I've said that so many times.
You want it cancelled.
I know. Okay, so let's talk about the big thing. Constantine's been added to the show, and we're seeing that a lot of the stuff that he's having flashbacks of and things are tying into his series. And a lot of people said they want a Constantine show, like a separate Constantine show. But I honestly believe that the way they're handling him on Legends, they're wrapping up his stories that were like left over from his first season. What do you guys think? Do you think they're going to wrap up as much as they can of Constantine in the season of Legends? Or do you think they're eyeing him to see if they can do another season 2? What do you guys think?
I think they might. I mean, I haven't seen the latest episode, but I heard about like Manny returning in recast or something like that. So that's obviously very season 1 Constantine. But yeah, I think I know some people think it's a bad thing putting that much Constantine storyline in it, but I think if they don't force it on the show and still make it very much for Legends and spread it out a bit more, they can do both.
Mm-hmm. Canadagraph says, I'm finding Constantine dragging the show down. They're trying to make it a Constantine season 2.
So my opinion on this season is I like it, but as a fan, I really like season 1. I know not everyone likes season 1, but it got better and better. Season 2, then season 3 is probably my favorite. And this season, I feel like the sort of more.
Do you think the charm is worn off, Ben? Do you think the charm is worn off a little bit from the
I think they're just,
humor?
Yeah, I think they keep on just sort of repeating things. I feel like it's a bit repetitive at this point. Like, apart from Constantine, I feel like it's repetitive. But then bringing in Constantine, I really like. I'm a massive Constantine fan, and I hope he gets a new season on CW because I really do like season one of that show. And they obviously left it on a cliffhanger, and that was like pissed me off for years. I like this season, but it's not as good as last season or season before.
Right. I think last season for me was peak Legends. Like, I think it was like the mix of the darkness of it and the comedy, I think really blended well in season 3. So here's what I think is the number one problem with Legends outside of the comedy and everything or whatever is you get a season where, well, no, not even that. Like that would be at the top of the list, but it's not the number one problem. I think after like sitting down and writing down my thoughts on it, the revolving door of characters, I think, hurts the show because you get a group of characters that kind of works well together. Like, I think season 3 was the perfect blend of all the different personalities. And then you split them up and you're starting from the like square one every season at the beginning of the season. And I think this season, the combination of characters isn't working as well as it did last season. I think Constantine is fine, but you have to remember Constantine, when he came in last season, he was working with a different dynamic. Like, everything is so different now in terms of the show. And I also think that having Wally on the show at the end of last season was really strong. I think he fit in perfectly with the cast. And now he's gone, and his personality was different from everybody else's. And so I think the revolving door has hurt season 4 because I think we've got right now the lineup isn't balanced properly, personally. And I don't think people are saying Constantine is dragging the season down. I think to some degree it feels like the show is like a supernatural spinoff right now, like the idea and the concepts behind it. And that's not a bad thing, but it's, again, the cast of characters are all being like, the balance is off with them. I think the best relationship on the show right now is the Sarah and Ava relationship. And I also think that the Charlie and Rory relationship is going to be really good. But outside of that, I'm kind of like struggling to connect to anybody's story, really, especially Nate's story, which is like, what is this, you know? What do you think, Paigey? I know you love the show, so...
Yeah, like, the thing with the Constantine dragging it, I don't think he does. I think because he's a gateway into allowing this season to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you sort of have to have him there for the most part to allow this season to work. But for me personally, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Constantine TV show. The best part of it was Matt Ryan as Constantine. The actual writing was a bit, how you going?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I just feel that they're going to bring Manny back into it to finish what they started with that cliffhanger back at the end of season 1, and they're just going to, I wouldn't say focus on it, but at least wrap it up. I guess it just matters if that Manny is connected, or if he is the one that was doing that stuff to John at the end of episode 1, or if it's just someone else there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully they get to that faster than they did Malice last season, or Mollis. God, the pronunciation, whatever. But with Nate, I think Nate's probably the only question mark on this season so far for me personally. And that's just because I feel like they're forced. Like, I guess you could argue that maybe Charlie being there as well. So having Charlie in there, so that's going to cause why they're going to try and avoid having Nate on the Wave Rider for a certain amount of time. And then when he eventually goes back on the Wave Rider and sees Charlie, you're going to be like, oh, it's a Maya. It's like, no, it's not a Maya. And that's just a way to keep him in the Time Bureau, which in turn keeps him connected to his dad, which in turn allows his dad's evil... Oh, spoiler. His dad's plans to play out. So I just feel like Nate's probably the biggest question mark. Maybe, and also you brought it up a couple of times, and I think everyone might have noticed it. Like, Nate is a metahuman. Well, he's got the steel powers. He's a superhero, but the only time he ever used them was to hold Ray when he went from a pig back to Ray. I'm pretty sure that's the only time he used them this season. And there's
been multiple times where it could have been useful, and he just hasn't done it. And it's like,
like when they're taking on the I won't say what they are, the creatures in a certain area. Why didn't he use them at that point? And I think there was even one other point where he could have used them. So, and I wouldn't think that he's would be too expensive to use because they already have like I don't know how much it would cost to do them, but if he's just like I don't know how much that would cost to use, but you think his ones will be maybe a bit cheaper because he's a lot of the time and he moves really slow when he's steel as well, so I wouldn't think that'd be overly expensive compared to some other stuff, but.
Well, I mean, it's just if you're going to go as far to use the money on the CGI saber-toothed tiger, then you might as well use the CGI for him. I mean, that's just it doesn't make much sense.
And like the only other question mark, funnily enough, is actually maybe Charlie because she doesn't have her powers. I don't know the show. Like I know that one of the big complaints is that like Legends isn't really a superhero show anymore. But last season, I think it really was. Like Wally was the only sort of element of superhero last season, in my opinion. Like after Firestorm left. And then when Wally came in,
I think Firestorm was the nail in the coffin for that. Once he was gone, I think that was like
like they were the only real elements. But a lot of people think season 3 is the best season. But like for the majority of it, apart from like 1 or 2 characters, it wasn't really a superhero show. Like it was sort of like a supernatural-esque show.
Like I said, though, I think that the problem for me wasn't just that. Now I think I've nailed it down to the combination of who's on the show. You know what I mean? Like
it's a combination of issues. Yeah. But like Legends has a lot of things going for it. I think it has the best team chemistry. I think that the show works the best in regards. I think the team's the best in regards to the just the way they get on. It's not like the other shows where a lot of people are disconnected a lot of the time. I know in the episodes they do, but like when everyone's together, or at least the majority of them together, I think that's had some of the better group scenes. They have the best relationship in the entire Arrowverse. I think the Ava Lance one is actually the most consistently
true. I agree.
The one that works the most consistently, and they actually give storylines to both characters. Because obviously that was a risky thing doing what they're doing with Ava, where she is really separate from Sarah, but they make it work. Obviously that's another reason why maybe Nate's involved there, but I think it still works a lot. But yeah, obviously it's early in the season, but I think it's hard for Legends to stuff up with the tone that they go for. Like season 1 was just this, we all know how bad season 1 was. So
Ben loved season 1.
I liked season 1.
Oh, Boba liked season 1.
Oh wow. God.
No, it's just when it led up to that Captain Cold sacrifice, I loved that so much.
Well, it had good moments, but I mean, as a whole, when you look at it, you go, was it good or bad? I think it's bad.
No, yeah. When I've tried rewatching it, it's been dragging for me and my friend.
Yeah, so, like, and even like I think Dominic Purcell, who plays Mick, put like an Instagram post.
Yeah, he freaking roasted it. What the hell?
Like, it was effing shit. I think that's what he wrote. we know season 1 was effing shit, but
that's funny.
But look, I think we all know for Legends once again to be the best season, we obviously need more Bebo. There's been a lack of Bebo this season. When is it coming?
Every other show's taking freaking Bebo.
Yeah, I know. Like Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, they're taking the Bebo rights away from Legends.
Yeah.
Not my Bebo representation.
I know. I mean, a lot of people hated that at the end of the season, but I actually really enjoed seeing Bebo at the very end.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that maybe hate on it don't watch Legends and they watch it out of context.
So I'm gonna jump over.
Actually, I was gonna say one thing. People going like, how can a giant teddy bear beat a demon? It was like, it wouldn't have mattered. They could have made a goddamn turtle. It would have had the exact same. It would have had the exact same.
Yeah.
From what they set up last season, it would have the exact same power level.
Right.
It could have been a turtle, or it could have been Bebo, or it could have been a giant hamburger. It would a big belly burger. It could have been whatever that big burger that Renee had in Arrow a couple of seasons ago. It could have been that. It would have the exact same power level. Right. It could have been able to take on Malice. So it really wouldn't be too much of a difference there.
All right, so I'm gonna jump over to super chats real quick. Dale Mobile did a £20, I believe, super chat. Is that right? £20? Yeah. Thank you so much, Dale, for that. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support. And Saint Lugia, I think I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, with a $2 super chat says, what do you think of all the show's dark futures? So that does kind of tie into Legends as well, because we've seen a lot of shows with like dystopian futures. We've seen Zari's future on Legends. We've seen the Connor Hawk future on Legends. We've seen, the 2024 dark future on Flash. They do a lot of these dark futures. Do you think that they're more interesting than the positive futures? I mean, what do you guys think about that in all of these shows? Like, how do you feel about it? Like the dystopian
one still stands.
The dystopian futures, how do you guys feel about them in general is what he was asking about all these shows. I mean, do you think they
think
do
they're
too
pretty
many of them, or not enough of them, or?
I think it does confuse a lot of people in terms of, well, a lot of people are using the whole anti-metahuman act in terms of why Nora might have. I mean, this is going into Flash territory.
That's
but
okay. That's all right.
Is that actually a thing? Like, I remember Guggenheim
No.
said that they're not going to revisit that anytime soon in the Arrowverse, and there's events in the future that kind of contradict it. So it's cool as it is exploring dystopian future scenes. I feel like it confuses a lot of people because they use it as hard, concrete proof as to why something else can't happen now in the show.
I think.
Are you talking about the Legends episode where they go to the future?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's talking about the dark
Yeah.
future timelines we've seen on the
Yeah.
show. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they confirmed that the Legends future was just their thing. Like, it's not canon.
Yeah.
Right.
I know there's things that like are similar, like smoke technologies being there, but they
Yeah.
have confirmed that isn't relevant. And also because it's important to remember that Flashpoint has happened since we saw that future, so you could argue that there should be changes there automatically. But
Well, Ava came from a happy future except for hers. It says that Ava comes from a happy, peaceful future. I think for her it wasn't so happy and peaceful, but
I think that I think it's really intriguing for people to actually think about what could happen in the future. Like, are they going to make the sort of mistakes in the past? I find it intriguing. Like, obviously, there's a lot of plot holes that are made from that, but interesting, sort of setup.
I think we've talked about this before, that the Legends has a hard, it's hard to hold Legends accountable for futures in other shows because the premise of Legends is correcting things in time. So anything that happens on the show, we're supposed to believe that they're in the process of fixing it. So it's not a fixed future. So anything that happens on Legends can change dramatically because that's the nature of the show. So when you say that, oh, well, the future of Legends showed this, well, yeah, but that's probably changed because that's what the show's about. So you can't use that as concrete proof of the future. There's only a few things that we know for sure are going to happen because they've happened further ahead in time than we've traveled to, but we don't know what changes we've made already in the past that would have affected that. So I think that looking towards Legends for that kind of definitive proof is probably not a good thing, I think.
Like the 2056 message is
Right.
100% canon.
Exactly. Yeah,
I'm
that's
joking.
such a problematic message. I made a whole video about that thing
Yeah.
because it was just so ridiculous. But yeah, so Amir has a question here, a $5 super chat. He goes, didn't like how time prevented Constantine from racing himself. Kicking the balls made no sense. That bothered me so much. Legends has a problem with humor over continuity sometimes. And for me, watching the show, that's one of the things that has brought it down a little bit for me this season in particular, because we have had some ridiculous stuff happen in terms of that. But I think that if the episode is strong enough, a lot of times I'm willing to overlook it. But stuff like that, it makes it hard for me to overlook because that literally affects the foundation and the backbone of the show, you know? So yeah, I agree with you, Amir. Any thoughts on that, guys, about that particular scene or...
Weird, wasn't
Not
it?
really.
I was kind of a little bit confused because haven't they been able to actually wait? Was it the only reason why he couldn't kick him right there? Like, could he punch him in the face?
Right. Well, the premise was that he could not do something that would erase him from the future, but we've seen our characters do things that have erased themselves from the future. So anything you do changes wise could lead to your being erased from the future. So I just found it odd that one moment that happened, because supposedly one of the rules of time travel is you can't participate in stuff that you've already participated in because it will cause all these problems to happen and whatnot. So, but part of that is also because you could erase yourself from the future. So I don't know. That scene was weird. I'd like to pretend it never happened. It was for comedic effect. I just think it didn't make much sense. So
It's almost not just worth it if it's for comedic effect, really, isn't it?
right. That's how I feel. But overall, I think Legends does have room for improvement. The ratings have been really, you talk about ratings for shows.
Really low.
Legends have been consistently below 1 million, and we're not talking 99. We're talking 20% below 1 million viewers. So we will have to see. But I think we're going to move on from Legends unless anybody has anything else to add. Anything else?
No.
No.
I got one thing to add.
Yeah.
Gary, I don't see the point in him. I don't. He's funny sometimes, but sometimes I think he's just way too over the top, and he is irritating to me.
He was,
Yeah, I
he
wasn't
was,
mega
he
hyped
was
last
funnier
season.
in like guest spot scenes than he is being a
Yeah.
regular
Last
character.
season, with Wally or something,
Right.
or Constantine at the end of the season.
Right. All right, so let's move on to what everybody's been waiting for. We're already like close to ending, but we need to talk about this and go in detail about it. So we're going to talk about The Flash season 5. Here we go, guys.
Ooh.
Here we go. So let's look in here.
He's back from the toilet.
Ooh.
All right, so the chat's been dropping a lot of Flash questions already. If you have any Flash super chats, go ahead and get them up there, so we can go ahead and get some of these out of the way. So I'll have to say, I know I've complained quite a bit about The Flash, not quite as much as Legends, but I have to say I'm liking this season better than last season. That's just my thoughts
Yes. Hell yeah.
on it. Does everybody else
yeah.
agree or disagree with that?
Yeah. Totally agree.
Season 4
Because
doesn't
I
exist
didn't like
in my
last
mind.
season.
Well,
season 4 doesn't
you know
exist
what?
in my head.
2 idiots in the chat right now, Boba and Ben. Let me just give you this. You're enjoying season 5.
I knew this would happen.
No. You can listen. Listen here, 2 idiots in the chat. Everyone's loving season 5, but so much of season 5, so much of it is reliant on stuff that happened in season 4.
I'm not negating that. I'm not negating that, but
no,
just,
everyone was talking crap like, oh, DeVoe's plan, it was crap and all of this. But so much of season 5 relies on the ending of season 4 and everything that it's set up. It's allowing season 5 to do some interesting stuff here.
My favorite thing in season 4 was DeVoe. I was like one of the few people who was defending him throughout. Everyone kept saying he was he's not a speedster, he's shit. And I actually really liked
I thought it was a silly. Well, it's the same thing's happened with Cicada. But the thing is, I think the criticism of season 4 is so over the top because the ending of season 4 is allowing. Yeah, but the tone I think was only an issue in the first half. I think when it got to the back half, it was arguably it was getting much darker maybe than season 3.
Yeah, it got better at the end.
In certain parts, but I think not even the first half, really just maybe the first. When did maybe first 5 or 6? I think once it got to DeVoe's flashback episode and past that, it was sweet. And I think the criticism.
But then we got that Cecile scene.
I don't know.
Yeah, the Cecile stuff was just. We all know that was stupid. It's even stupid this season.
I think I remember enjoying 17, 18, 19, or I remember when Ralph came back and all that stuff, but I definitely don't think it was after the episode 7 DeVoe flashback when it was all back for me.
Later in the
season. Katie Sackhoff. I really like her, but I don't know how to feel about
Well, it's not a surprise she's not coming back this season. I think
that was a waste. That was a waste of potential because she's actually really good. So I felt like. I mean, I know she was defending it a little bit. She was at Dragon Con on the panel before she came on for this season, or for season 4, and she was talking about it, and she seemed really excited to be a part of the show. Because I think anybody, you get cast on a superhero show, if you're a huge fan of what they're doing, your excitement level is going to be through the roof. So she talked a lot about her character and how much she loved working with this character and some of the filming she had already done. And I was really excited about having her. You guys know, I talked about it last year. Or the year before season 4 when I talked about it. And I said, I'm excited to see her because she's one of my favorite actors. And so I was like, okay, I want to see what she's going to do. And then she comes on and has a fake accent that's unnecessary. The accent was totally unnecessary. There was no point. It didn't really tie into anything of any importance.
Yeah. Like they said she was a flight attendant. But it's like, do flight attendants have to be British?
So having her not come into season 5 doesn't really surprise me. So, but
what was her name again? I don't remember her freaking name.
Katie Sackhoff or Aminette Black?
No, Aminette Black. There you go.
Well, my guess around it was that they needed, because we all know that season 4 was probably one of the first seasons that they've done apart from season 1 where they actually wrote the whole thing for the most part, the major plot points. So I think they knew that they needed Aminette to have the shards so Barry could chuck it at the satellite.
Right.
So that's why she was so relevant up until the end. I think because we know that the Flash does do some rewrites.
Mhm.
Like if a character isn't working, they will write the character out, or they will cancel a upcoming appearance. Like
Over the
if a character's
season,
meant
so
to
many
return.
characters they've written out over the last few seasons.
Yeah, so we know Flash tends to do that, but I think because they needed Barry to have something to throw at the satellite because he wouldn't have been able to reach it,
Right.
they needed her to be there because it made sense, I guess.
So
Yeah.
so this season though we're dealing with the fallout of the satellite from the end of last season that led into this season and all the charged up dark matter. So even like Paige, you do have a point, right? Like the satellite literally set up everything for the season, and we would have never gotten to that without the DeVoe story from last season. So this season, I mean, last season, even though I had an issue with a lot of it, I have to admit that the scale of what happened in the last couple of episodes was totally due to the Thinker and that character. So we have to give him a little bit of credit for that.
My biggest issue with last season was that there shouldn't have been. Well, how many bus metahumans was there? 13 or 12?
Yeah, that dragged out a bit.
What? It should have been like 6 or 7. Like really, it shouldn't have been that much. And then they could have just added a first half villain, and then had all these metahumans maybe dying in the background. Like we know it's DeVoe, but the Team Flash doesn't.
Right.
So they should have done some first half villain, like literally just some throwaway villain that they can just have some cool sequence with. That's what the first half should have been. And then the back half is, but still have the bus metahumans, but have like half of them in the first half, and then maybe spread them out in the back half, like one every like 2 or 3 episodes. That's what 13 bus metahumans. And let's be honest, how many? He used like 3 powers. It did not use 12 powers or whatever it was. Like it was so stupid. Like it was just
Speak of that, we're going to
be.
be talking about that when we get up to the Caitlin Snow stuff here in a minute. When we talk about that.
I guess there's a segue, but yeah.
But think about it. A lot of what happened in season 4 has set up everything in this season. Like everything, the Cecile stuff, the stuff with the satellite, the stuff with Caitlin, all of it really does tie back to season 4, which is really weird that they did such a. I'm going to give them a shout out here. A good job of tying everything together because it did actually work out to some degree. But we got a lot of new stories this season, and so we're dealing with Cecile, who's got empathic powers now. She lost her telepathy, and she's an empath, and I don't really understand how that works. I'm guessing it's going to be another plot device for her because that was really the only reason she got powers last season was because of that.
Oh God.
They could have literally given that power to anybody else, but this season she's got like empathic powers. So I have a feeling that's going to play into the Nora storyline.
Yeah, I was just about, as soon as you're saying that, I was like, she's going to like feel that Nora's like scared or feared or nervous or something like that. And
I've got a
Nora's
feeling
going to reveal something. Yeah.
When Thingy goes to Iris to tell her about Nora, I think Iris is going to be defensive, but and then Cecile's going to be like, no, Sherlock's telling the truth because she'll be able to tell.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
I think Iris is going to be defending. I think Iris is going to be defending her daughter out of the fact that she's worked, hell and just gone up the highway to get that relationship with Nora. And now somebody's coming out to say, we don't trust your daughter. Something's up with her. And then Cecile will hopefully back the claims up.
What do you guys think about Cecile this season in general? Like, do you feel like she's better or worse than last season?
I think she's better, although I don't think she's like anything too special. It feels a bit weird when she's doing like Jesse L. Martin's line, but I've gotten over the fact about that because I know like they probably had like barely any warning. They'd already written his part into the episode, so that's not that bad. But last season, didn't enjoy her basically at all, apart from maybe the court scenes. I think she was pretty good. I don't know, but just to clarify, to do with season 4, I don't like season 4. I think it's like all right. I really like the last few episodes, like when the tone actually felt right, apart from the Amunet Black episode. So Cecile's got a bit better, but she's still not like on the level of these other characters.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a bit shaky in terms of how obviously Jesse L. Martin's meant to be there now, so that she's got even more screen time, I'm guessing. So that's even more of the people who don't really know how they feel about Cecile, just seeing even more of whatever the flaws they have of her.
And
I didn't think like what last episode she had. I thought, okay, this isn't actually as bad as what I was thinking it was going to be with her and Ralph, but I did feel like too much of it was unnecessary.
And I feel like whatever they're doing with her in terms of giving her Joe's dialogue in some scenes, I know that we're pretty much done with that because at this point now they probably, you know, they knew he was gone, and so she's going to be getting her normal writing back, which I think is unfortunate because I think writing her more like Joe has actually helped her, in my opinion, as a character. I think it's made her more interesting. What do you guys think?
Maybe the only thing was like, oh, my war face. Gotta get my war. That was like a bit. Okay.
Yeah.
A bit cringe there.
No, not cringe. Just maybe a bit too much. It just felt very un-Cecile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's not been like, oh, I'm so serious, but she's never acted like that before.
Right.
Obviously you can maybe argue like the empathy thing was going on, like she was nervous or something because the guy was in. They sort of did like say that she was feeling his emotions, but I just think that was like a bit out of it. But obviously they had to and you can't really criticize that too much because it's obvious that the writers had to like quickly change basically everything going forward after Jesse L. Martin left. So they would have had to rewrite all of that to make it what Cecile would say for the most part, but still include Joe's lines.
Right.
So you can't really criticize it too much, I guess, but it did feel like very un-Cecile. But
what do we think about Ralph this season in general? Like, I know that a lot of
better.
us were not fans of him last year.
He's the perfect example or like version of himself. I feel that he was last season, all this season so far. Everything's been great with Ralph, I feel.
Yeah, I don't think I've had like any complaints really about Ralph this season. I really didn't like him last season. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint it, but I find him better this season. I've been enjoying him.
Paige, you liked him
He's
last
just more
season, so
like
what do you think
real.
of him this season?
I liked him. I thought he had a good storyline last season. I think he was the only character with a storyline, apart from DeVoe. Like everyone else is basically Caitlin's storyline didn't exist. Barry, for the most part, didn't. They really did nothing with him. Iris didn't. Joe didn't. Cecile sort of did. Ralph was the only character with a storyline. Maybe you could argue Cisco and the whole gypsy thing, but it was sort of forced towards the end. Like, it was pretty rushed. So Ralph was the only one that had a proper storyline where they actually developed his character and changed him from, to put in quotations, a piece of shit into an actual half-decent dude. So he's actually the only character with a storyline.
And I actually think that our affinity towards him now only exists because a lot of us did not like him last season. You know what I mean? Like, his storyline now where he's likable is a result of how unlikable he was being portrayed, you know, last season.
Yes.
And let's repeat that. Let's say it out loud. Character building. That's what we call it. Applause in the background. Thank you, everyone. I'll be here next week.
Doesn't mean that you have to enjoy it. Literally.
No, that's the thing. But that's the whole thing. It's going from one extreme to the other, and that's, I think, an issue with the writers. I think the writers had to make him like this like misogynistic dude. I think they went a bit too far with that. I don't know why they had to go down that route. Obviously, you could argue that maybe because of what Barry did to him, he just went to that extreme. He just became that type of person. But I think they didn't have to make him that extreme in regards to what he was doing. But as I said, only character that actually had proper development last season, and it's shining this season, where if people are still complaining about him, it's really like just petty hate, I think.
Yeah,
for the most part. I don't think you can really complain about him this season.
It's hard to complain about him because they're doing such a really good job of showing that he has become more part of the team. You know what I mean? Like, he's grown as a character so much that if you don't see that growth and you don't give him the credit for making those changes, then you weren't paying attention last season, you know?
Yeah.
So, all right, so let's move on from that and talk about the dynamic of the West Allen family with Nora, Iris, and Barry, and those three characters, and the ups and downs we've had. Because I know there's been some questions about, you know, the writing of those characters, and, well, we'll talk about that as well. But so we had a lot of drama, you know, where Nora came in and she had some shade thrown at her mom, and all this stuff was going on, and, you know, now they're, I guess, BFFs or whatever. Do you think that storyline first of all, what did you think of the storyline, you guys, and about the way it's flipped around? Do you think it was done properly? Do you think it was like BS? Like, what do you think? What do you guys think?
In terms of what specifically?
It's probably a mixture.
About like where it started and where it is now, where she was against her mother put the chip in her, and so she had that issue with her, and then one episode later they're best friends. I mean, how do you feel about that? Like,
I think it's a and I think it's a mixture. I think we might all agree on this. They're probably stuck between a rock and a hard place where they either dwelled on it for too long or they rushed it. And they rushed it, but they had to choose one or the other. And I think rushing it.
I think they made a good choice.
I think rushing was probably the smarter choice because people had a big issue with the whole Cisco thing, and that was a smaller issue, I think, than what is happening here because we have the two characters that were involved in the situation in the future, rather than it being like, and like Barry didn't like directly cause what happened to Cisco. You know, he might have still died in the timeline. We don't know, but we know that that Iris put the chip in. That Iris put the chip into Nora, so we know that happened in the future.
Right.
So they could have actually dwelled on this for much, much longer because it was like directly connected.
And some people are saying that maybe Barry put the chip in her, but I don't think that would, like, what difference would that make? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make much difference because we've already gotten over the hump of her forgiving her mother for all of that. So going back and saying, "Oh, but Barry did it," I mean, what's the point of doing that? I think
it'd be wasted drama. It'd be like, well, why the hell did we spend time on that? Like,
I think I'm caught both sides because like, I get how you can't be angry with your mum when she isn't even that person yet. So I do get her change of mind and how it makes sense, but it is rushed at the same time.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was an excuse. Like at the end of the day, this isn't the Iris you know in the future, and that is as plain as day. So, and Iris doesn't even agree with that. Like she doesn't even agree with her future self. So
yeah, like I totally agree. And in regards to like how they're working as like a family, I especially really love Nora, and I've been liking Iris a lot more. Although there was that sort of scene a few episodes ago when she jumps off the building. I don't know about you guys. Some people are outraged about it, but I found it hilarious. I started cracking up when I saw it.
But were you laughing at it as if it was comedy?
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So you're okay.
I literally shouted out loud. I think I said like, "What is this?" I was really shocked. I just couldn't believe what I'd just seen, and I don't want to trigger anyone by saying that, but I just was. I couldn't believe it because it was just reaching, really, like in terms of what.
I didn't have a problem with it. I was just laughing. I was just dying.
I don't know, man. She just like parachute glided in, did the whole aerodynamics thing, like, you know, so she went faster and somehow undid his lock in the middle. It just wasn't. I think it's because it wasn't believable. That's the problem. Like, it's nothing. I said in my review it was badass for Iris, but that doesn't mean that I have to believe that happening on TV and Iris doing that. And I don't know. I know a lot of people really either completely with it or against it, aren't they?
Here's the thing. So I'm gonna cover this and wrap it up for myself here because people want me to talk about it because I ranted about it the night after it happened. So
yeah,
there's a level, like people say, oh, it's a superhero show, so things like crazy things happen, right? Like people do all kinds of wild stuff. Except when you're a human and you don't have powers. You can't just assume that someone without powers does ridiculous things and we're supposed to go, oh, that's okay, it's a superhero show. They don't have powers. That's the thing. Like, I get it. Like, everything else that Iris does in terms of, like, going out with, like, a weapon to save the family or to, you know, like the situation with Nora and Barry where they were fighting and everything, I'm willing to believe that stuff because it seems believable. It seems believable that she would do that. There's no reason for her to jump off the roof like that. Like, Ralph was right there. He can stretch.
What about her husband dying, Eric? Yeah. What about her love for Barry?
Like, that's the thing. I didn't notice Iris had jumped off the building until, like, she was unlocking the handcuffs. Because I just assumed Ralph had jumped off. Because he, like, stretched his arms. I was like, okay, surely Ralph's just stretched his arms. And then I was like, hold on.
It's that little parkour flip.
What did I just drink? Like, what am I having? Like, am I tripping out here? Like, what's going on here? And as Eric said, it's because of the superpowers thing. Look, and I've said this after the fact. I've been like, you can, if you want to enjoy that scene, if you want to find it inspirational, which would be sort of weird, but if you want to find it inspirational or something like that, fair enough, go for your life.
do that.
However, that is the stupidest thing I've seen on the show, and you cannot call the show anything on the show stupid after that if you enjoyed that scene, or if you thought it was like meant to be like some sort of serious thing. Like, you can enjoy that scene for what it is, but from now on, unless Iris, like, I don't know, skydives from a plane or something and saves Barry, like, just then you go to the extreme with that situation, you can't call anything else in the show unbelievable, unrealistic, or just plain out stupid. Yeah. I think the show set a standard with that scene.
We're getting some,
and that's why I think
a little bit of lag from YouTube. If you guys are getting lag, I apologize. I tried to do something for it, but
can we talk about
it's on YouTube side? Go ahead.
The Speed Force symbols, like, and how that's one thing that was set in last season that wasn't set up this season.
Yeah, let's jump away from the Iris stuff, because the Iris, we could go on for hours about Iris and that scene.
Like Nora, like, a lot of people criticize me for saying how, oh no, but Iris didn't see what Nora was writing in her journal. And then I was like, okay, I'll give you that, but what about the Speed Force symbols on her suit that you pointed out to me, Eric? I was like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. So I just feel like that's something they've left, even though they're going to address it, but it's just been left a little bit too late, even though we're in episode 6. I just feel like some kind of remark should have been said about that, considering how prominent the Speed Force symbols were last season.
Yeah, so in this episode, what is up with this lag that we're getting from YouTube? I hate this. What is up with the Speed Force symbols? Because we saw at the end of last season that it was like she had the book and like, oh, it looks like it's, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, somebody was saying we're completely frozen, but I don't see it. It says offline.
It's resuming for me. It lags a little bit, but it's popped back up.
Okay.
And for me.
Oh, thank you, YouTube, for once again making things difficult. Well, we're getting close to the 2-hour mark anyway, so we have to wrap this up. So let's get through this. So the Speed Force symbols were prominent at the end of last season, and we haven't really touched on it. We got a hint that she was going to do something with it this last episode. That didn't happen. So I still feel like they're important, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm feeling like we may see another Philosopher's Stone thing. Like, where it's literally going to get wrapped up in like one sentence. Oh, it's calcified Speed Force. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're going to get that again. And if we get that again, how are we going to react to it? I'm going to call them out on it because it's been, we saw it last season. We're seeing it this season. This is something you can't just do a throwaway line on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think they could just be like, oh, it's future language. And that's how they're going to wrap it into the Monitor's book as well in the crossover, and how it's, and they could just end it there. But with the amount, as you said, of focus they put on it last season, you know, it was a big thing. It was such a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just want more on that.
Well, yeah. Well, I think because she's writing them in that journal, I think I know if like this theory is going around, but like the journal could be something like some sort of like communication to someone in the future, whether it is like the journal gets buried or it is literally just some futuristic thing where it's a two-way journal, which is Tom Riddle crap or whatever it is.
And I want to give real quick, I want to give a shout out to Naruto76 because he did a super chat for $2. I was just looking at our super chats. He did a super chat for $2 about the Speed Force symbol, so we're talking about it now. Thank you for that super chat.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much.
But like with obviously, I know Suchi has the Speed Force symbols down the side, so it's if they weren't going to do anything with them, they are literally trolling the audience as hard as they can, like consistently showing them. Not only with Nora, but obviously with Barry last season. Even DeVoe was writing them on the board, and then also Harry had them on that thing that like at the end of last season. Like there's multiple things where these Speed Force symbols, well, these futuristic Speed Force symbols, whatever we call them.
Yeah, I mean, this is literally the second season where we've had them, and there's been no explanation for what they are.
Yeah, the only thing is like it's just some sort of like. Obviously some sort of dialect or like some sort of, I don't know what they're going to do with it. My only thought is, because we know that Nora's writing them in that book, that they might be waiting until whoever she's working with in the future is revealed. Mm-hmm. And then they will dive into that. Who knows, they might find a notebook or take a diary or whatever you want to call it. They might try and translate it or something.
Right.
Obviously, who knows if the This House is Bitchin' thing is actually relevant to the whole situation, because does that mean that what Barry said and they translated is correct, because she came in and said it at the end of last season,
Mhm.
or is that
Sounds
them just
bitch.
having a cool line for her to come in and say? Because if you're going to take that line
I
seriously,
think it
then
was more
makes
of a joke.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. It's confusing. Was it a joke, or were they being serious?
Right.
Was Barry actually saying that
Then
line?
they could decode everything. In
Yeah, because he
theory.
said Nora shouldn't be here, so he was already expecting Nora to come back.
Right.
If that makes sense from what he said. So he said this house is bitchin'. So is that meant to be relevant? You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
so
I mean, I see what
Last
you're
question.
saying. Yeah, but it's just like,
like it wasn't comedy. Like Flash sometimes has unintentional comedy,
Right,
aka
right.
jumping off a building.
Right.
So
people
You know,
like
who
I saw
knows if
someone
they'll-
say it was inspirational.
oh god, who wrote that?
I don't know. Someone said it. I think I don't-
Let's hope that was irony
I'm
or
not.
sarcasm. What to say?
I'm just gonna keep. I'm gonna hold it in. I'm gonna hold it in here. I'm just gonna hold it in. So-
It was me. It was me. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Second
Okay. Good.
account.
Good. So okay. If you like that scene, good on you. It's fine. It was an exciting scene. I'll give them that. But I think it was a bit ridiculous. That's just my thoughts on that. So, all right. So let's talk about. We got a $5 super chat here. So since we're switching subjects, we'll just go ahead and do this one. Amir, $5 super chat. In the comics, Thawne was once the curator of the Flash Museum, so it would make sense he's working with Nora. So Nora's future. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Amir. I think Thawne is one of the biggest, like, I guess theories for who Nora's working with in the future, especially based on what we saw in the Flash Museum. And I think, Paigey, we've talked about the curator of the museum could possibly be a version of Thawne, disguised as the curator for the museum. What is everybody's running theory on who Nora's working with in the future? Is it Thawne? Is Thawne like number one, or are we thinking like a twin brother, a twin sister? I mean, what are we thinking here?
I think
Or-
it's either that or that.
It's you literally know it's either the evil twin or it's Thawne. Like if it's not one of them two options, then I don't know who
holy
it's
shit.
gonna be. I think like Flash is sort of running out of villains that it can use, like big villains. Eric, but obviously we know that Cicada's there for the back half, so who knows what they're doing. Maybe
Cicada.
they could be the Look, I'll defend the way I say it. It sounds much better than cicada.
Say it the way.
Oh,
Say it the way the
cicada.
TV show says it.
No, look, mate, Sherlock's my man. Sherlock said it's cicada, so we're teaming up with Sherlock. If you say cicada, you better jump on the cicada bandwagon because it's the way of the future. It's the way of the future. Yeah. If you came to Australia and said cicada, people would look at you and just chuck you back on the plane just because they'd you back home. Anyway, lost my train of thought because Ben was really rude. Yeah, so obviously Cicada's the villain in the back. Oh, he's still there in the back half. So maybe they could make it some evil twin if they're not going to make it Thawne in the future. If they don't want to make him the villain.
Well, there is another theory that,
Yeah, it's-
but it's really spoilery. Should I bring it up? I wonder if I should bring it up.
It's spoiler in what sense? In terms of current episode or?
Yeah, like super spoilery. Like I feel like it is. Okay, so without spoiling anything, I will say that a lot of people think that Nora made a big point of talking about how Cicada in the future they never found out who he was. A lot of people have said that Cicada is the person working with Nora in the future, and he needed her to create him by doing what she did. That he needed her to do
why?
that. I don't know. That's just
Why
a
would she
theory.
do that?
And they're saying based
like
on,
that, though.
on some photos that we've seen, there's a different Cicada. There's another one. The one we have is different.
Yeah, the different trench coat, yeah.
Right. That there's two of them, and she's working with the other one. That's
So
one
I
of the
think.
theories.
Don't you think that's just a suit upgrade though?
Yeah, but it'd be like
Obviously not.
but the thing with Cicada is that they have made the point that like he's meant to be like blue collar, like really down to earth. He does everything himself. So he's just using a generic trench coat at the moment. So it seemed weird if he just went and got some like over the top stylized suit. You know, and like everything
some
he's
money.
using is really basic. Like even the things he has on his arms are just like bandages wrapped around his arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
And,
suit,
like, he's
the suit,
like-
the new suit. Actually, this is why I was getting into spoilery territory here. The photos we've seen of the new suit, which are out there floating around, like it's out there. Looks like an official suit, but it looks like
Yeah,
a different. It looks like somebody at Star Labs made it. Basically, is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Wait, are we talking about like the cicada kind of patterns on it? Yeah, the wings. on the back.
No,
No,
there's
just the design, the general design.
yeah, instead of it being like wrapped up rags around his arms, it's official gauntlets, and instead of like a raggedy trench coat, it's like a actual like a fabric
Leather.
and everything. Yeah, like it's like a real legit
Yeah.
outfit. So I'm wondering if there is some credence to that, or if that's just a future scene where the other cicada somehow interacts with our characters due to time travel, possibly.
Yeah.
Because it's a little problematic.
It is actually sort of cool. It doesn't have wings because obviously cicadas have wings, so
Right.
that's pretty cool. It's the Flash being really detailed to the insect that the villain is known. So kudos to the Flash writers and everyone involved for that one.
So AK
Is that
Universe.
the right thing, by the way?
What?
What
is
I
that?
put in the chat.
Let
Is
me
that
see.
the one you're on about?
So
Chat
Oh, the
curiosity.
Discord chat. Yeah,
no,
yeah,
there's that one. And there's more detailed.
yeah. There's
ones
another
from
one as
just-
well. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
So-
other ones.
Someone says they think that Caitlyn's father is cicada. No, not it. Sorry.
That is definitely not it.
Yeah, definitely not it. So anyway, so I think that wraps up the cicada stuff. We don't really know much else. We'll have to wait. We do know he's filming after the 100th episode. So there is well, we could talk about his acting. I think Chris Klein in general hasn't been very good. I think when he's in the suit as cicada, he works, and when he doesn't talk, he's okay. But this last episode, his acting
That
was a
whole
bit
ending
wonky.
scene, that was just pointless because I said this in my review. A few episodes back, they showed us that he was getting stronger because of that cut by him crippling that metal pole.
Yeah.
The exact same ending in this one. It's like, I'm getting stronger. It's like,
What?
oh, okay.
I think that was maybe to get the nurse involved or the doctor.
Yeah.
Did
think-
anyone
I think that's what the whole
notice
point
that
of
that
it.
wasn't Chris Klein in that family photo as well?
That's what I said when I was talking to Paige
'Cause
on Tuesday. I said, "Is that his house?" Because it doesn't look like him.
That makes me think that, you know, the theory of her being adopted is true, and maybe he's like the brother of Grace's mom or father, or just actually some randomer who's taken her in or something way before the satellite incident. But that definitely 100% is not Chris Klein in that.
Right.
Yeah,
Which is
Grace
why when
family
they
photo.
keep showing it, I'm like, they must be trying to tell us something, because that's not him.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that in the flashbacks next week, we're going to see obviously him, whether he's a family member or not, look after Grace after her parents pass away for whatever reason.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I've been enjoying him. I've been
But
like,
yeah, no, yes, yeah, I liked him, but yeah, that I felt like it was a bit corny when it was like the "I'm getting stronger" kind of thing. I was just
I like what they're
His
doing with him.
voice.
I think Chris Klein is inconsistent in his portrayal of the character. I think some of it is like cringy,
very smoldering.
Yeah, like he does he does the imposing thing good, but like the scenes with the doctor where he was talking like this, and I was like, oh god,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is giving me flashbacks of like the really bad Batman voice from the Christian Bale Batman, which I hated. I hated the way he talked. So you know,
Those
I
behind
think-
the scene pictures of the new suit, by the way, that is still Chris Klein, right? So
Yeah,
he is.
yeah,
it's still-
yeah.
it's
That's
still
what I'm
the
saying. I'm saying, yeah. That's why I'm confused on what's going on there.
Yeah.
Unless after the 100th episode, some weird. So you guys ready for theories? Let's talk theories real quick. After the 100th episode, we know they're going to be dealing with Eobard Thawne. We know they're going to be dealing with Savitar. We know they're going to be dealing with Zoom. What if? This is another just possibility. What if that changes everything that's happened from the beginning of the season? What if they do all that time travel, they come back, and everything's changed, and now Cicada is the one with the new suit?
That's that. Yeah, I was about to say because I don't get how that freaking new suit gets made, but maybe, yeah, as you said, because it's some kind of little mini refresh, like a wobble of reality. He might just have a new, kind of get together anyway, or he might have been around slightly before because of what they've done to f up stuff a little bit.
Yes.
But what
Speed
about the
Force
goddamn
says-
Speed Force transmitter? Like that's the confusing thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited because is everybody excited to see Savitar again? Who's excited to see Savitar?
Oh, yeah.
As long as he doesn't take
Yeah,
off the suit. Just keep the suit on. I'm sweet.
I don't want to see the Thinker again.
Although I love Reverse Flash and I'll always take him anytime they want to bring him back, I'm actually excited to see Zoom again.
So
Because
exciting.
Zoom was really, like, you go back, season 2 was some prime real estate for the Flash. People sleep on season 2. I think season 2 had some
Love season
problems,
2.
but season 2 had some of the best episodes.
I've always stated season 2, I think up until towards the end, I reckon it was on par with season 1 and could have beat it for being a better season. Unfortunately, Zoom's stuff at the end just was a bit his plan was a bit just wasn't that great.
Yeah, I agree,
It
but
just
Zoom
fell over.
Zoom as Zoom before the reveal was definitely the most intimidating speedster.
Love Zoom. Zoom's my favorite.
I thought Sabotage was your favorite.
No,
what would
close
you-
second. Close second.
So
Well,
why
it
do you
beats
think
Reverse
they're
Flash.
going?
Like below the Thinker and below Cicada, like right at the bottom.
My favorite episode, like the biggest, like I guess the most frightening thing I saw on the Flash is when Zoom dragged Barry through the city and held him up in front of everybody.
Yeah.
That to me was like,
Freaking love
wow,
that.
like you go back and you watch that
Rinsing.
scene and it's another level, honestly. It is. But now we're going to be dealing with a faster Barry, a much faster Barry versus Zoom, and with Nora. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen.
But
with
why
that.
do you think they're going back in time? What are these key necessities? Like, that's
I think
confusing
Nora's
to
going to
me.
reveal that she's got that theory time, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe Nora's book is going to have like certain points in time that they can interact with that she knows this can change this can change that, and she's going to come clean
They're like-
about it.
They're tangible. You can sort
Right.
of get
And she's
there,
going to say, if we
yeah.
go back and do this, and this, it should fix this and then correct that. And
That's
then,
interesting.
you know,
Well, it is in that one of the parameter images. They're in the flashback episode from season 2, the one where Barry traveled back, because that's the same scene, like the white chairs in the time vault.
yeah.
That's the chair
episode
that
17.
yeah, it's the chair that Wells tied him in. So maybe because Barry traveled back at that point, even though it's confusing, maybe they can interact at that point because he's there as well. I know it's confusing as hell, or because there's already a past Barry there, they can just pretend to be that past Barry. But then why is Nora there? So it's just confusing in itself. Time
They've
travel's
also got
confusing.
that Speed Force transmitter, and I just can't imagine they're actually going to go back and nick
What,
Zoom
in
or
what-
sabotage
Well, with
Speed. I just-
Barry's holding it.
yeah, he's holding
Yeah,
like.
yeah, but I was looking. I was like, "Is that the Speed Force trans?" Because I went back to.
It definitely
that,
is.
Yeah, because it's sort of hard because he's holding it in a weird way we can't tell. Because I went back to the episode where Wells gave the speed to Zoom. I was looking. I was like,
Yeah.
the end looks similar, but the top of it didn't. So I was like, okay, this might be a new one from the future, maybe from our
Yeah, no,
from
because I've
present
got a
day.
video coming out after this, and I literally went in on each one and zoomed in, and I'm literally 99% sure it is the same, but I just can't imagine why they would use it. Like,
It's definitely got the same back. It's just the front is just much smaller. So I was like, I was sort of confused about it. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
broken. Maybe they need Wells to fix it. Maybe.
and
Who
it'd be
knows?
pretty lame if they were to actually get, I don't know, some backup speed from previous speedsters. It just
Yeah.
wouldn't, I just wouldn't do. But,
So, all right. So I think that's pretty much like we're coming up on actually at the 2 hour mark. So I think we need to wrap it up really quick and say that, thank you guys so much for coming in to join us. Do you have any last minute super chats for us? Anything for us to answer? I'll give you guys a couple minutes to come up with some questions, and we're going to close out. I'll close the flash pictures here. Let's talk just briefly while we wait just a minute for the super chat for the crossover event coming up, because I know we're expecting trailer very soon. When do you think we're going to see the trailer? Are we going to see it tomorrow night? Are we going to see it Monday, Tuesday?
If it doesn't come out
We go.
tomorrow, then they are literally leaving it to the last minute. Like
We
it's
go.
already. I already
Go.
personally think they're a week late on it. Like I show those teasers where I guess maybe. Okay, fair enough. They only finished wrapping up filming the crossover like a couple of weeks ago, but I feel they might be releasing the trailer, because you got to think about this is like they almost try to sell this as almost like a movie of sorts.
We're not,
So you gotta
guys.
realize that
People are saying
you
talk
gotta
about
release the trailer for a
Elseworlds.
movie.
We are talking about Elseworlds before we go. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. So you can't release like a movie for a trailer for a movie like 2 weeks before. You sort of have to give it some hype. And they, I don't know. I sort of think they're a week late on releasing the full trailer. The only thing I can think of is that maybe they don't want to show too much. Because with Crisis on Earth X and Invasion, you could show a lot.
Right.
You know, you could show a decent amount. But maybe with Elseworlds, there's a lot of different surprises. We know that like only a couple of scenes were actually shot publicly. Like there was we saw a lot of public filming, but when you actually break it down, it's actually for not that much of the episode,
Right.
or for the crossover itself. So maybe they're like, well, we don't want to show too much and maybe give too much of the storyline, because I think there is going to be a twist in the storyline at some point. So maybe that's the reasoning for leaving it, and the trailer will only be, you'd think, 30 seconds.
Right. That's
I can't
true.
see it being a long one. And then they might release
Yeah.
another teaser next week or something, a week out, but I don't know.
Their publicity.
Yeah. They're a bit late
Amir
on it.
says with a $5 super chat, thank you so much, Amir. He says, could the guy in the picture be David Hirsch? You're talking about the original cicada from like the one that Sherlock was talking about. The guy they got at the beginning. I don't think so. I think it's going to be Chris Klein. I think it's going to be that character.
Yeah, like it wouldn't surprise me if they make it that, like he's maybe Grace's uncle and maybe his sister and his brother-in-law died and left Grace there. Maybe they were killed in a metahuman incident and they left Grace by herself, so he adopted her, took him, because I think that's probably his house. I think that's his house. And then, he's adopted her essentially. And then she's obviously been affected by a meta incident. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe she dies in this episode. I can't see him continuing to be a villain. I can't see him continuing to be a villain in the season if she survives. Because you think it'd be like, oh, my focus is on her. She's alive.
Right. So
she's recovered.
Somebody's talking about Reverse Flash for Elseworld. I don't think we're going to see, like, if we see Reverse Flash, it won't be the one that we know. It'll be the one just in the Elseworlds world. Because a lot of people think that Elseworlds is going to change everything on the shows, and I don't think so. I think a lot of it is going to take place in the dream dimension. So I think that what changes that are going to happen to the show will happen with our characters when they come out of that dimension. And I also think it's going to set up the Crisis event for next year. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think Guggenheim did say this just lays the groundwork for next year's crossover event, so they are definitely interlinked.
And everybody think Ruby Rose looks good as Batwoman in action now. We've actually seen her in some photos and stuff. And
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I think the cape, I
play-
saw a comment about the cape earlier, and I kind of agree. It does look a little bit pointless compared to like Supergirl or anyone else's cape, but apart from that, I couldn't endorse it anymore.
yeah. So you're not digging the cape at all?
Well, no, I like it, but somebody pointed it out, like in the latest, the Batwoman Elseworlds trailer, when she's like raising up, it just looks like a bit flannelly, and I was just like, you know what, you're kind of right there, but that's just me. And
the Anti-Monitor is not the villain. The Monitor's in it, but Anti-Monitor, they may set that up, but I don't think he's the villain of I think Dr. Destiny is the main villain.
Yeah, he's the actual villain. And the promo images sort of hint that maybe he does completely change reality, and that's the Supergirl episode. Maybe that's
apparently
how
there is no overarching villain, though.
Well, Dr. Destiny's the cause of it, so he's technically the villain.
Right.
But like, if you look at the Supergirl promo images, or the promo images for the Supergirl episode, everything's different. Like, there's a different version of Cisco, and like Barry and Oliver are just in like weird situations. So I think at the end of the Arrow episode, he probably changes reality completely, and everyone gets changed. That would be a good thing, and then that's how maybe Black Suit Superman gets brought into it. Maybe.
Apparently, even the Monitor has a hand to play in the Oliver and Barry anachronism, as TV Insider says. So, like, he's not obviously the villain, but he doesn't do good things apparently.
Well, because I think his job is to monitor. That's what he does. So I think
he's literally monitoring.
He's basically, he's not good or bad. He's there to keep balance, I think, is what it is.
I just found it fascinating when they said that he might have something to do with Barry and Oliver swapping. I was like, why would the Monitor do that?
Right.
Like,
yeah. So anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. We've talked about a little bit of everything, I think, in the Arrowverse, including the Elseworlds event. We kind of ran out of time. We went about 30 minutes longer than I expected, but wrapping up around 2 hours, I think, is good. And if you want to watch this on playback and you missed anything, it should be live on my channel very shortly. Look out for the trailer for Elseworlds. We should be getting it this week. I'm hoping tomorrow, as we're saying. If anybody else doesn't have any more super chats, we're going to be getting out of here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I want to thank Paigey, Boba, and Ben for all sitting in and being part of this and doing our first official 2018 season 4-channel crossover. We'll be doing another one next, and I believe it's going to be on Boba's channel. Is that what we're doing? Boba's going to be doing the next one? Is that how we're going to do it?
think so. Either me or Ben, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So we'll be advertising it very soon, but thank you guys so much for supporting, all the super chats, all the love, all those things. And yeah, we'll see you guys. I'll be live on Tuesday, probably with Paigey for my after party, and we will we'll see you guys then. So take care. Have a good weekend. See you later.